minute packing on all levels, not only for yourselves, but for our content. As I went home last night and went over things that I thought, oh, I wish I could do this, I wish I could talk about that and include that. So we're going to just do a quick last minute packing of the suitcase, your content suitcases, and exposure of a few more items. How we're doing with the extension cord.
Actually, you'll have to move something.
All right. So this wheel has more than 7 points. Okay. You'll have your little wheel, remember your little wheel pads. And if you don't, that's okay. This is the day I know most of you had to pack everything. Everyone can see the board all right? Yes. Yesterday we were cutting the cake and my back was the problem. It was been a little tight. He forgives us this. I thought this would be better today. All right. So last night, just randomly, I kept thinking of little things that we wanted to mention. I brought along additional study guides. Over the years, I've been collecting them. So I thought I'd expose you to them today. Some of them are brand new ones, like Narani's new book. Someone also has shown us this here. She had given me one just before she left. I just collect study guides. And so you may want to start doing that too. And if you see something here that somehow we didn't photocopy before, Sriananta and I can arrange that it be copied and be sent on. One other program that's very nice that you may want to use with the children, it's been done, and maybe it's been done in Bombay by, oh God, he's now a Maharaj, Brihat Radanga on his Sadachar program. I brought that book over on the Vaishnav etiquette book. So, do you have that? You all have the Vaishnav etiquette, but you don't. So I just wanted to expose that one so they can see that, because that's actually a course. You know, many of these books I've saved, it's a course and it includes wonderful points on just how to conduct yourself, how to take a meal, how to interact with devotees, how to have a meeting with norms. It's a good book. So actually, every time I see a book, I see, oh, there's a course. You know? And you can start thinking that way too. You see a book and you say, oh, I could teach this to my child. Now you know how to go about teaching it. And I brought along something very interesting. And I saw the girl today at the temple. Her name is Shivratri. She's 14 years old. She just turned 14. And I had Bal particularly in mind when I heard that he actually excels in studies. Shivratri, I brought her homework along, did the Bhakti Shastri course. And she did it at 13. And she had her homework turned in on time, and she got good grades. I have some of her homework I still have to go over and submit to her. And she took the exams and did the essays, and at 13, she passed Bhakti Shastri. She was 13, and now she turned 14 towards the end. And her mom came, simple little girl from Russia. So something to consider. You know, if your kids are up to it, send them on and let them do it somewhere. Get it out, get it under their belt. So I brought a homework sample along. I brought a handwriting sample along, the Palmer script. I don't know that had ever, script. I don't know that had ever been given to you, but in case, I packed it along to show you, and that could also be photocopied. Oh yes, I wanted to purchase this, and the bookstall was closed. I wanted to give one last little gift booklet, and I'll send them along. And I'll send along another little gift too. Not ready yet. I ordered it for the children, laminations for the children specifically, but I called them in at Dixit Studio and not ready yet. And then we have the little caps. Right. So each child and everybody will get a little book called The 64 Qualities of Krishna. I don't know if you have it, but it's an excerpt from the Art of Chanting. And it's very nice for our own japa meditation. And now that they know how to memorize lists of things, it has the 64 qualities of Krishna in Sanskrit and in English, and a little paragraph about each. So It's a wonderful exercise, like maybe memorizing 10 at a time. The first 10 deal with Krishna's body, his form, and some are his mind, and then the other ones deal with his qualities, and then you'll go on and then more qualities on how he interacts. Now those are not designated, but this is what we do. Remember, we task analyze. So when you get a book, you see, well, is there something systematic in the way this was presented? And then, of course, the last 4 qualities are only Krishna's, and before that, 10 qualities belong to Narayan and Krishna. And then some of the qualities you'll see, you'll have a certain percentage Shiva has, and a certain percentage Brahma has. But 50 of the 64 qualities the Jivas all have, we have in minute proportion. And if you're a pure devotee, then you have them all to your fullest capacity. So that's a nice little book. So I went to go get that this morning in the bookstore. I just couldn't hold it. We couldn't do it, so I'll try to get that, maybe even today, and they could still, some be sent on. And this little lamination was ordered about 3 days ago, and unfortunately I told the man, and he promised me, I thought perhaps maybe he came by last night, and I put it in, and he couldn't find me at home. But just so you know you're getting it, these are Aruda's little Govardhans, and they were with me before they flew to America. They were, she went to Govardhan with her younger son Gopal, and with the help of Gopi Puranadana's wife, Archa Murti, took a Govardhan Parikrama, and they got the blessings of some Babajis, and she found Krishna, the big one, and he's moon-shaped, and then Gopal found this little crescent-shaped Radha, and she fits right around his face, which is perfect. So they were with me, just sitting on my little counter table there with no decorations or anything, and it was sort of yes, no, shall we take them or not? The guru wasn't keen on increasing their deity worships. She has a lot to do. She's there by herself managing a temple. And then she went back and got 2 little ones, which still are with me because she thought these were too heavy for travel. But then the guru was really getting worried that now she wants 4 instead of 2, and then he was not showing enthusiasm at all, so she said, send them all back. I said, but we've ordered eyes and flutes and boxes, how can we do that? So when she called me from her mother's house, I think it's in Allahabad, she said, I'm coming to the airport in Delhi, but I can't make it to Vrindavan. Can you arrange to get the deities ready? The guru said yes. So this is how they turned out. This is how they manifested just before we put them in a taxi. They were taxied to the airport. And the people in Boise were at the other end waiting with a big kirtan to greet the arrival of Govardhan. It was a big thing for the temple. So she was so excited. So I ordered one of these. This is another one of the laminations I pass out regularly because some people don't have a Govardhan. And then this is a way you can put this on your altar. So I've ordered one for each of the children. So this is Aruda, and it's special. So we just have one sample, and by tomorrow night I'll have more, and then we'll just send them on with Srinatha or whoever's going back. Who's next? Damodar, when are you going back? Today?
We're going on 12th.
On the 12th. So whatever we decide or we can pack along, then Damodar can bring them.
Actually, I'm going tomorrow night to Delhi.
Oh, tomorrow night you're going to Delhi. Okay. Anybody else going?
We're going on 12th to Bombay.
Oh, you're going on the 12th, so you're here a little bit longer. So then maybe you can arrange to just get the laminations to children. I thought I'd have them by today, but maybe I guess you couldn't manage that one. So this will have a nice connection because it's Aruda's. And everywhere she goes, people really love them. And this picture's been, I've passed out hundreds, literally, and everybody loves it. It's quite true. Okay, so we'll have Govardhan and the 64 qualities of Krishna. That I can try to pick up in the bookstore later today. All right. So let us then go on to some of the items that we talked about before we do the math. We just want to cover all the points. Study guides. Rasamrita actually acquired this one, and I brought it along. I meant to bring it the other day, but just too many books. Narayani has just had this one published, and she has taken to heart Prabhupada's desire that every verse of the Bhagavad Gita be illustrated. So the artist Satyadama, who illustrated your Bhagavatam, They're tiny little pictures, but still, every verse is illustrated, and you'll see the breakdown. She's done the summary and the breakdown of each chapter. So just as we've been studying, like preparations for war, signs of victory, and she took each verse and she put it into a poetry form. So it's a slightly different way to read the Bhagavad Gita. Each verse has been turned into a verse, and each verse is shown in a little tiny lotus. And also the different divisions are all illustrated with a larger color picture, and I think there's a CD in here as well. So the book is quite special. So this is the newest study guide, and I know she's working on, with the artist again, study guides for she's finished first and second canto, and she's working on the third. The money has come for the third. So there are many, 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 many books available. You're going to pass that back to Manaji? Excuse me, I brought mine along today also in case you didn't have that one to show you. Some others, I'll just go over the study guide thing. As I said, over the years, and perhaps these have already been copied. I don't know, but I thought just in case not, we'd share them with you. So you have that one by Narayani. And then, of course, you probably know of, or maybe already have, this is the study guide Burjan did on Surrender unto Me. And this is very helpful. I know, actually, some of the teachers in Bhakti Shastri refer to it a lot and expect questions from it, like what are Duryodhana's diplomatic tricks, the yoga ladders in here. That was one thing I had hoped maybe we could have covered, the yoga ladder with the children, but it's wonderful. And it also does links between each chapter. It'll show you which verse is the link-in verse. It's an excellent study guide. So it's if you're studying with the children, it's easy reading. Wonderful, wonderful book. Study guides are fabulous. Really, really good. So I brought that along. Just put them on the table for now. Okay. I didn't realize actually how much I still had in my... These are old. This is a really old studying Srimad Bhagavatam. Oh, I mean, I've been saving them for years. I forgot to even pull out some more. This one, I think, just explains a study method, how to go about the Bhagavatam. I don't know if we did this. Did we do this one?
Yes.
We did do that one. So they have this also.
Yeah, they have, there is a whole unit called as Bhakti Shastri study thing.
Okay, so it
Which
includes
is called as
this.
base. Most of them
Have
are
this
available
already.
there.
All right. I didn't mean to duplicate. I just thought I'd bring it along in case, because sometimes there were things that were left out. But this sort of a suggested study schedule and how to ask all kinds of questions per verse in the canto. So, but apparently you have access to this. Okay.
Rather specifically, Radha Gopinath Prabhu, who is one of our temple presidents and who keeps on guiding all these devotees, has been referring to this.
He's been referring this book. This one's been around a long time. This has been around a long time. Again, pardon me if I'm being redundant. I just thought better to come and check. Very old study guides. Really old. This one, unfortunately, was marked up.
Yeah.
Did you get this one?
Yes.
You got that one. He's got all these. And Bhagavad Gita as it is by Jagadish. He was Maharaj at the time. So all that's covered too. Okay. It's very handy to have them, Burjan's early study guide, which eventually turned out to be Surrender unto Me. This one, I'm so sorry I marked it up. This is why I don't like to mark up books. But when I, in 2002, was taking Srimati's Bhagavad Gita course, she's the one that did the NOI thing. She is so organized, so complete. And I was under so much pressure because I was tutoring and I was trying to take the course as well. And I had to mark things by color, to just cram exams through the cram program. But this is one thing Sri Ananta has, and he copied it for my book. But I also now in my pen drive have the good copy. So we can try to maybe get those now that the office is back at the VIHE. There are 27 study charts here. Do you already have, do they have those as well?
Yes.
They've all got the study charts. In other words,
Because these are the same things which are used in
they're
generations
used
by
in
the
general. Okay, very good. So again, I brought it along just in case. And this whole book is amazing because she goes verse by verse, breakdown plus each verse. She has just a summary statement of the verses. And these were available to all of us. She would provide these. Okay, so it looks as though there's nothing new here. Nothing new in that regard. And then somebody was asking about NOD, and this is a book that's been out a long time, but this is a very good companion book for NOD, because that's actually very difficult. It's quite deep. And this is, I found very helpful because there will be graphics organizers, charts. It explains the waves more clearly. Very, very helpful. So I recommend for your study of NOD, since we don't have anybody other devotees that have done anything on a simpler scale, that this is a good study guide for NOD.
Is this waves of nectar devotion?
Waves of Devotion, yeah, it's a study guide for, no, this is Damodar, yeah. And especially in the later portions of the book where it's very complicated, many different types of rasas and rasabhasa, whatever, you can get lost. So this I find helps too. And they'll actually include graphics things in there about the pattern of sinful reaction, and then how that it goes into avidya, and it's good. This is good. All right, let's see what else is on back here. And he probably then also photocopied Urmila Mataji's book. Oh, this is an old book by Mohini Sutta on Teach Yourself Slokas.
Yes.
That one you've got. Okay, you've got all this. I have to repack everything. Did you do Urmila's Bhagavad Gita for the children?
No, I think.
This is what she used when she taught Bhagavad Gita, and illustrated.
We have this.
Yeah, we have.
You have that one too. Okay. Okay. So these are things maybe that some of the other devotees that haven't had so much exposure to.
No, all of them have, like whatever.
We all have.
Whatever I had, you
Yeah.
had. I just, I couldn't remember really if we'd gotten into this.
Yes.
Because basically I knew we were doing other things folding, and I hadn't remembered if we.
Yeah, but I think that time I was teaching Bhakti Shastri, so you had given me all these things.
So we were all set. Again, forgive me for forgetfulness, but I just wanted to be sure,
Yes.
because this is the time. See it, do you have it? She noticed that we didn't have that writing competence book.
And
So,
some of the things were also given by Bhakti Brihat Bhagwat Maharaj, which you are speaking about.
okay.
So he was one of the pioneers in starting the facility for Bhakti Shastri and Bhakti Vaibhav in our yatra.
So
So
everything,
he had also given many things.
so everybody has,
Yeah.
that's just every concern here. And then also you can, actually after this is all over, Anita wants to come and do what he did, and that's go
Yes.
through the shelf and see what's abuse.
Yes.
And then little by little, because to try to do it right now, it's just too chaotic.
Too much.
And then what happens is we get printing mistakes. Sometimes things were printed in more quantity, or I would lose masters. And I just now have to do it at a very regulated, systematic pace if somebody wants to do vast amount of photocopying right now. Okay, so that we have covered. Now, I'm not sure if you got this is a single sheet?
Yeah, we have.
You got that one, okay. I wanted to, at the time, we could have shown you how simple, again, if you analyze, everything is by zones. And everything, we teach just basic strokes. So upstroke, or loop, or descending loop. And if you look, we just go through and we analyze You know, which letters are 3 zones, which letters are 2 zones, do you see any, what they call arms? And it's just a matter of practicing. And that's the handwriting that, as children, that I do, you know, in the book. That's what we were taught. Everybody learned it. And it's just a simple little thing. So everybody's got the sample of Palmer. This is Palmer. And people say, well, what if my child wants to develop his own writing style? That's not recommended. Prabhupada never recommended concoction in any area of deity worship, cooking. He said that's a concoction. Traditional styles have been developed over the years for their consistency and their readability and their beauty. So for us to try to go beyond that is a little bit like trying to supersede the acharyas, you know? You don't. And why bother if something's been developed that's traditional and very pleasing? Now, Betty Edwards refers to this one, and she also talks about the Danilian as being a strange combination of print and script that is artistically inconsistent and disturbing to the mind to look at, and also confusing to the child to learn. So I just wanted to be sure. Very simple thing from a grammar book, 4th grade grammar book. I brought along this is the last set of homework from Shivratri. This is the youngest student in Bhakti Shastri, and she's 13. And you can see how she did. And I had a format for them for homework. They had to write the question in one color ink. They had to give the response in another color ink. And they are supposed to cite the Shastric references. That keeps it Shastric. So here you can just pass this around and see what a 13-year-old can do. And she got good marks. And she came over to my place a couple times. 2 or 3 of the students took the initiative when they were in doubt as to how to do essays or how to study properly. She came along one Sunday and wanted to know how to study better and how to go about doing her essays. So, very nice girl. So it's never too soon. We just tend to think that they're too little. But she did better than many adults. She did better than many adults. All right. I think as far as Shastra goes, that is all that I wanted to be sure you have. Srinada is so complete, I don't know. This is never. Okay, I'll go back to these over there. Now we passed out, and we have left a few of these packets. Right? So we'll go over those in a little bit, not quite right now, to see what else we have. So we've done study guides, Vaishnava etiquette you have, and Shivratri's thing is being passed out now, so you can see what a 13-year-old can do. So if your child is bright, direct them in the right direction. Let them really, because sometimes if children are not motivated to study or learn, maybe it's just they're not being challenged enough. So, she was in a situation where the pressure was so heavy, some people couldn't take it. And yet she managed. And she was coming to the temple and doing the programs too. I can't keep up like that anymore. Okay. And she doesn't strike, if you see the girl, you look at her, she doesn't strike you at all as scholarly. She just looks like a sweet little girl. She's a sweet little girl. Obviously not the Sukriti from previous life. Okay, so we've done study guide, sadhachara, Shivratri's thing, handwriting sample. That was what that was. Yeah, the pink sheet. I wanted to show you a couple of little art tips with the watercolor pencil and the writer's guide. Now I know what that's all about. That's the blue book. And that is the one which was too big to photocopy, but and I don't know if it's still available. But years ago when I was in the Gurukula, 2 of Urmila's students, they were twins, were visiting Vrindavan, and they dropped in to see me in my class because I was always on the alert, like who's doing what, and learn from them. So at the time, Urmila had her school in North Carolina, and it was well known that the children performed 2 or 3 years above standard, and they were doing quite well. So the twins there were sharing with me. I was trying to find out, what do you do, what do you study, what books do you use? So they told me about this book. And again, I don't know if it's still available, or maybe it's even revised, or there are other, like there may be Oxford books that are, I'm still my back to contact. Oxford editions that are similar, but this is the Webster's New World High School Writer's Handbook. Complete Guide to Writing Across the Curriculum. Defines, explains, and illustrates 38 different kinds of writing in 5 content areas. The book is brilliant. The initial portion of the book explains in depth the 4 stages of the writing process, beginning with pre-writing, and then writing, revision, and then proofreading. And each one of those 4 stages is carried into different types of writing, be it essay, be it journalism. So you get the model, right? And then it's applied as need to be in different categories of writing. Then there are samples. There'll be samples for a theme in mathematics, or a theme in science, or a theme in English. Right? So you get samples, and you'll even see samples that have been revised. They've been checked, and maybe transitions have been left out in the first one, and transitions are added. So you compare, and you see how transitions facilitate the flow of the thought. Very helpful book, about as thorough as you can get. And I would strongly recommend all of you work at this level, because I always felt that I should introduce things at the highest level possible and just adjust the content according to the age level. Rather than start, baby things are okay, but you want to take into account the whole spectrum of what children are able to do. So this is a wonderful book. And it's easy to follow, too. The tide, the size of the print, it's good. Very good book. Yeah. Sample outline for a paper, how to do a speech. Very, very good book. So this was Irma's book for her writing program. I think I passed on to Sri Ananta all the books I had on Sanskrit, because I got to the point where I ran out of covered space. And I thought, well, I'm just too old to start to learn Sanskrit, or certainly in the Gurukula I would teach the alphabet and maybe a few 100 words to get them started sometimes, but other than that, I mean, to get into the language, that takes years of grammar and study. I don't have the samskars for it either. Okay? So, the handwriter's book. So the next topic then would be very quickly, those packets. So everyone has the packet now? Did you have the packet? And Radharani, did you get the packet?
Yes.
All right. Right. We'll pass those. He's coming in a little bit, or later? Later. Okay. All right. So the packet has, for you, we talked about it yesterday, the packet has the blank. Oh, you need a packet. I can get more copies made. Some of these have to be collated in order. The pages are mixed up. But ideally, I wanted them in this order, because this is how you think. So the first piece in the packet should be the blue one. You may have to rearrange some of these. It should be the blue one, because it's a sample, okay? I have to do a lesson plan. Here's my blank page, right? So then the next page would be, here's another sample, but with example. So this should be page 2. And then you can see, here's a sample of time spent, topics covered, who's going to present the information, how will the class be divided, organized, resource materials are listed, and assessment method is defined. And the date, and of course, you have to state what the aims are and what the objectives are. And this is the model that's used in the BET training in this class. So if you ever take that course, you'll be using this. Then the next page I put in was a 2-sided sheet. It included the Gardner 7 intelligences on one side, with a sample applied to photosynthesis in science, And then on the other side, much of what we were doing the other day, Bloom's taxonomy. And we've talked about knowledge, comprehension, application, and higher order thinking, application, synthesis, and evaluation. We've talked about that. And you can see it goes across the board, giving you the vocabulary of verbs to use in setting your objectives to meet different levels. In that one book that's called Multiple Intelligences, you'll see how the teacher combines Bloom and Gardner. So you've got examples on how to plan. In other words, how will I cover 6 levels of thinking? You see how Bergeron did that in the VIAG courses. What's knowledge? What's understanding? Where's application? Where is synthesis? Where is evaluation? All that's there. So this is coming from this model Bloom. Very, very, very important. This is, I think, from maybe 1980s. This model was developed. I can't remember. I may be mixing that with Collins too. Collins model instruction. But these are models that are coming out of universities where they're developing methodology for training and analysis. And Gardner, of course, that's well known now, the 7 intelligence. The whole Pathway School is designed on that. You have picture smart, word smart, music smart, body smart, personality smart, interpersonal smart, verbal linguistics, mathematical logistics. Okay. So you can see how in a class, to accommodate different types of learners, you know, the child that's a kinesthetic or a child that's a linguistic, because you will have all kinds of children in the group. You will not just have verbal linguistics. As you find you go up higher and higher in university training, it starts to narrow down to that because everybody else is falling away. But in an ordinary classroom program where children are, by law, required to be in school, there has to be some way to accommodate different types of learners. What do you do with the children that are athletic? Just fail them all the time? That's okay. So you see, even the study methods I was giving you are to help all kinds of children learn the material. Okay, that I had to be as the next page, and then I included in the next step the anatomy of this textbook, which had clever ideas for gearing up, or what's happening, or find out, or what's next. You know, motivational terms. And the textbook did that. They would have pictures or questions or some kind of a short story that would tease the brain a little bit to get the student thinking. Here, flex your brain exercise, activities, mini labs, problem solving, technology, relating information to technology, eco tips, very important. Ecology, how does ecology fit into what I'm teaching? And reviewing, and skill builders, how to build skills, study skills. Subject and global connections. What does this have to do with what's happening in Iran or in Africa? Careers, let's say you're interested in something. What is their future for me in this? And literature and art, they would have books and paintings in the book. It was amazing. Art that, famous paintings that related to the topic, books that were literature, good literature related to the topic. Unit readings, and of course an appendix. Appendixes are very helpful. And a glossary. Glossary is very important. So these are things that are good features not only for a book, but for you in your lesson planning. How can I plan my lesson? To motivate people, connected to ecology. And so I put that in on the back. In the book they also have here, you can see different kinds of graphics organizers using charts, graphs, tables, experimenting skills, thinking critically skills, organizing, how do I sequence, how do I outline. And then at the end I added Krishna's own speak. How do you see Krishna behind everything? Because that's the idea. That's the idea for us. How do we connect everything to Krishna consciousness? So that was, I presented this with a law of application. This was my handout for that. Because Everything I had to teach, I had to connect it to Krishna consciousness, not just regurgitate the book. In other words, take it to our level of concern. So that I consider to be the next page. And then for yourselves, your own checklist after you've done it. You can check yourself. Remember we had this mnemonic trick. We started with carrots and what was the next thing? Eggplant, and then we go into detail. We have to know the big, then go to the small.
Plan for this week.
So everybody knows the three components? Now some of you, I noticed, have been also doing some of the details. So now test each other, and let's see how many of the points you can remember. The first one was aims and objectives, the second one was content, and the third one was structure and balance. So now test each other on how many of the points. Just pretend now you're going home and you have to prepare your lesson plan. What are you going to think of? If you can't think of it, you'll have your little book. But if you can think of it, then you don't really have to pull out your little book, okay? So test each other and we'll see how many of the points you can remember with each other, okay? This one, in other words, right now, this is the heart of the period we have. So this is for where we plan new information. In other words, whatever is the next lesson, you give that the prime time. So today, we're focusing on the lesson plan. So we're using most of our prime time today. We started out with just a little bit of, just to wait for everybody to come and, you know. The most important time is given to the prime time. Beginning time is recap, and perhaps drill, revision, and then the last, you know, like beginning, middle, and end. So your middle is the biggest portion, and that's new content. And then at the end you recap, and you assess and give feedback, and then you give an idea of what's coming next. It's pretty logical, really.
So when we are teaching about what is the yesterday place, then first you take everything like who I know, the lessons, then you understand instruction, and then
Yes. Right. And you decide what it is. You do that for every beginning lesson or every area of content, or however big you want to do it, or keep referring to it, or have a huge mind map on the wall of the whole course, so that you can always see where we are. I always see a course in terms of an atlas. You'll maybe have maps of the whole course, you'll have maps of a unit, you'll have maps of a tiny little lesson, you'll have maps of maybe just the pictures in the book, you'll have maps in terms of maybe just the study questions, but use the book to help you plan your course. It's, that's all any of us can do, really. Unless somebody like Spalding has set it all up. But even then, we use the book. We gave you a little study book to help you focus. You'll be able to do it. Because actually the whole objective of what I'm doing is to try to equip you to create your own programs. And I think, have the right outlook, how to go about it. But the decision as to what I'm going to teach, what I want my child to know, that rests with you. Yeah. Okay? Now we're going to speed it up a little bit. We want to finish this up because we have some other information to cover today. Does everybody have a good grip on what you think of when you go home at night? And you may have to put it in written form, or maybe just in your mind. I know for myself, I usually put out the materials that I need for the next day. Or I have a general idea of what people are asking for. And then we bring in those materials, and I had this ready, and we always said we had your kit, your lesson plan kit. And I have those kits with me today. Okay, now, where were we in terms of reading? We were back to Mataji. All right, we're going to go to the next page. And we're going to go now a little more quickly. We've talked about this before. Knowledge, skills, and values. And here they use the word attitude. So this page is called Lesson Planning. And Anita Mataji, you could read to us what is the aim here. The word aim is coming up again.
The teacher's hopes and intentions about the outcome of the lesson.
Right, two things. Not only your hope, but your intention. Right, we hope wonderful things, but you have to have a specific, what do I really want to do? You be hopeful and also very specific, right? Okay, Prabhu? Objectives. We have 3 kinds. Remember that? K, S, V. Or here they use A. And this is so important. Many people stop with K. What am I going to cover? What's the content? So you have 3 major objectives. Knowledge, everybody knowledge? Skills, and values, or attitudes. And that was what the whole Wilkinson program was about. Having the right attitude. You have the right attitude. There's a saying in the West, your attitude determines your altitude. And they even hire in big companies, they hire on the basis of attitude over skill. A person may come in very qualified, but if his attitude is sour, they forget him. A person may come in with not so many skills, but he's really positive and hardworking, and he shows determination. They'll hire that person because that person will cooperate.
Your attitude, what is the word after that?
Oh, your attitude determines your altitude. That's a saying in America. And it's true in Krishna consciousness, because all of Krishna consciousness is the lens through which you see the world. If your attitude is God conscious, then you see differently from a person who's materialistically conscious. And you see the whole, like they say, a saint sees everybody as a saint, and a pickpocket just sees the pockets. That's all he sees. He sees the person's pockets. He doesn't have a broader vision. So, okay? So 3 values when you start teaching and when you're planning your lesson. What will they know? What will they be able to do? Skills. And how will we transform their attitude and values? Okay, so Prabhu, you want to read a little bit about knowledge objectives?
A knowledge objective. What do you want the students to know at the end of the class that they did not know at the start?
Very important. When you go out the door today, you'll be able to say, I learned something. Every day, your child. My father used to do that when I come home from school. He'd stand at the door. The first question, what did you learn today? I got so used to that. What did you learn today? Oh, I have to remember that. He asked that every night at the dinner table. What did you learn today? So it's a good thing for a teacher to think about that. And it's your pledge, remember? It's your pledge. At the end of this session, you will be able to do what? You will be able to describe what are aims, mission statements, programs of study, what are knowledge, objectives, skills, objectives, values. Okay, so the simplest one is knowledge, and that's where most people stop. They cover the content. All right, we'll go back now to Damodar. Damodar, would you read about the next kind of objective?
An attitude objective.
No, skills. Skills.
Skills objective. What do you want your students to be able to do at the end of the class that they could not do at the start?
Right. What could they do now after 40 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours that they couldn't do before? Do we have a new skill? So far today we don't have any skills covered, but hopefully we will before it's over. But we're definitely picking up on knowledge, and this knowledge is definitely linked to the next point too. Because this isn't just knowledge that's facts. This is knowledge that helps you change your attitudes. All right, Umesh, you want to read about an attitude objective?
What attitude do you want your student to develop? An awareness of texture or color, different viewpoints through discussion, role play. How do you want student to be?
How do you want your students to be? So the goal for those of you who are teachers or homeschooling parents, when you leave today, after this little booklet, do you have a broader idea of what you need to be? How many of you? That's very important because you've asked, when I go back, you were panicked. What am I going to do? This will tell you. This little booklet will tell you. It's not going to be specific as to what the course, but now you know how to go about it. Okay? So what will your students, what will they be? You'll be clear on what I need to think and what I need to cover. Knowledge, skills, and values. All right, next we're going to let Sevamurti read the note. Okay?
All these 3 objectives should be expressed in the form of a to-do statement. Example, rather than stating students will know the names in Sanskrit of the 3 Purusharthas, put students will be able to write down, etc. Or students will be able to cite, etc.
Okay, so the point is, if you look at your Spalding, and also if you look at the VET Bhakti Shastri, at the aims, the student will be able to. The student will be able to. Yesterday we passed out the syllabus. The student will be able to recite all 70 phonograms precisely. Recite the 29 rules precisely. Spell every word through A through G precisely. That's what you have to get the student to do. It's so simple. Now doing it might not be so simple, but at least you know what you have to get them to do. In very specific, so if you take another book, like geography or science, you have to make your objectives that clear. At the end of the period, my child will be able to explain photosynthesis. My child will be able to set up an experiment to test what happens to light under a prism, or to a leaf under a prism, right? some kind of knowledge objective, some kind of, and then maybe awareness. Oh, we better take care of plants. Without plants, no oxygen. Awareness. All right. Next, Manaji, you want to read the last paragraph?
A lesson will usually contain the following elements: welcome and introduction to lesson, recap on previous work, new work, practice, winding up and clearing up, looking forward to next lesson, homework, farewell.
Very good. So we try to do that in here, and we've even taken on the airplane syndrome. I stand at the door, everybody gets off, right? Farewell, take your apple. Right? We try to follow the format. Are we doing okay on that one? Okay. We have to model what we talk about. Otherwise, it's a big hoax. Okay? Next page. Aims. We're going to read more about aims. We'll read quickly now. We've all been over knowledge, skills, and values, and Wilkinson did that beautifully. Maxims, maximizers. Beliefs, behavior. Practice, principles, practices. Attitudes, actions. Right? So clear. So now let's talk about aims more. And we'll just read through these next, Manaji. First aim on the next page. Turn your page, everyone. At the top of the corner. Okay? Not like this. This book is too small. It won't work. We designed it especially. Okay.
Aims are general statements describing the overall purpose of a course, program, or session.
Very good. So that just reemphasizes what we talked about. These are more in-depth understandings of these terms. Because if you know these terms, you'll be clear on what it is you want to accomplish. Okay, Manaji, you want to read the next thing about an aim?
They are about you or your organizations. Intentions having taken account the needs and interests of your group. They are difficult to assess precisely.
Okay, so here those words came again. What are the two words that come up again?
Assess and needs.
Needs and intentions. Right, needs and intentions. What do you need to cover? Wilkinson did the same thing, the law of need. What does the child need? And why do I have to show him he needs to study Sanskrit? Okay?
They answer questions such as, what do I hope learners are going to understand, achieve, develop, be more confident in, know about?
Okay, so here is the hopeful mood. Intentions and hope. All right? So this is sort of a reiteration of everything again. Sundari, would you like to read on?
You have to read the example?
Mm-hmm.
No. Example to help learners feel more confident about their reading, writing, and spelling in everyday situations.
Okay, that's a name. You're all here because you want your children to read well, spell well, right? Write well. That's it. That's a name. That's why you came. You didn't come all this way just to get cold or slush through the mud. Okay. And read the next one too, Sundari.
To help beginner photographers produce technically good quality photographs and express their creativity in producing images.
So here's more of a skills, right? But it's a general one. We want photographers to be professionally equipped. All right? Umesh, read the next one.
To write an aim, it may help a few things.
Okay, and read on.
If someone asks, what will I get out of this course? What would I answer?
Okay, so somebody comes to you, they walk up to me. Before I met Radharani, she phoned me from Bombay. And that's exactly what she asked. Well, should I bring both the girls? I don't know. And I don't know if I should even come. Well, what will I get if I come? She asked that. And Sri Ananta was all, I said, no, that's a standard question. They want to know why they're bothering to come. And you have to be prepared to tell them. If you can't, were you satisfied with what I told you? She said, yes, I'm satisfied. I had to spend some time explaining over the phone. And I said, that's standard. They're going to come to you, they want to know. They're not going to make a trip and just wing it and spend a lot of money and go away disappointed. They want to know why they're coming. And you have to be able to tell them what they're going to get. So far, are you satisfied? Okay. No, she had her doubts, and I don't blame her. She's got 2 kids. I don't know if I leave one back. What should I do?
3 kids.
3 kids. Well, you had 2.
I've left
We left one back. She told me I have to leave one back. and I'm not sure, does the older one need this? She's in school, and I don't know about the younger one, and, you know, I had to express what I can offer, and if that matched up with her needs. It's standard. People come to the school. Should my child come here or not? What are you going to give him? Can you do it? All right. And aim.
Aim. What do I want to achieve? It must come from the.
That's a good one. Everybody point. Where does it come from? Not from the. That's a very important point. Read that again.
Aim. What do I want to achieve? It must come from the heart.
Yes. Because if your heart's in it, you will do it. If your heart's not in it, Marv Collins said, you can pay a person to teach, but you cannot pay a person to care. Right? You have to put your heart into it. I thought that was a good ending. All right? Now let's come around back to Radharani. Let's go to the objectives page. These are just reiterations of what we heard before, but it's right in front of you, so you really get the message, because if you know this clearly, you'll be able to proceed confidently. Okay, Radharani? What's the first point about objectives?
Objectives say exactly what students will be able to do at the end.
Exactly, right? That's what, when you write that down, at the end of this period, the student will be able to define an objective. We hope by now you've heard it enough, you will be able to. All right, we're back to you, Babu. Next one.
They can be for courses or lessons.
Right, it can be a course objective, it can be a lesson objective. Anita, next.
They being with a verb.
It should probably be begin. I think she left out a letter there, begin. She got the letter switched.
Right. They begin with a verb, identify, practice, use, discuss, etc.
Right, it starts with a verb. That's a key point. Your objective should have a verb in it. The student will be able to write down, list from memory, right? Explain, define. It's a verb. That is an objective. Next, Babu, you want to read the next point?
They state something you can observe, see happening.
Yes. I'm in front of the class. I can see. All of you are looking at the book. You're reciting. I get a feeling you're catching the point. You're checking each other, peer tutoring. You should be able to observe it. Not just something in the ethers and I went home and I think they got the point. No, you have to be sure. Your child, you have to see that my child actually learned how to do this today. Okay? Next, Prabhu.
They make checks, goals against which you can assess people's learning.
Right, that's what an objective does. It's a check. It's a check system. They make checks, goals against which you can assess people's learning. It's just like you go to the doctor. He's going to be able to weigh you, see how the medicine's working, take your temperature, check your pulse, ask you how you're feeling, look at the color of your skin if you've had jaundice. He's going to have some measure of his procedures' effectiveness. Okay, on our next page. Now, this is long list of words, but they use these, and you'll see this in Bloom's taxonomy also, just so people have an idea of how to be specific. What kind of words do I need to use if I have a knowledge objective, if I have a skills objective, and if I have an attitudes objective? In other words, what kinds of words do I use for each one? So we will come now back to Sevamurti, and rapid fire, can you go down the list of knowledge words?
Calculate, categorize, convert, divide, define, explain, compute, find, identify, isolate, locate, label, differentiate, mark, pick, relate, solve, explain, select, specify, list, prove, select, locate, state, weigh, prove, and cite.
Okay, this is the kind of word that should introduce your objective. Your knowledge objective. I can list the 10 themes of the Srimad Bhagavatam by heart. Okay? Very specific. All right? Rasarita, could you please tell us words that will appear for your skills objectives?
Adjust, pause, carry out, check, demonstrate, draw, assemble, climb, finish, hold, keep, lift, maintain, march, fit, lower, operate, perform, position, practice, raise, reassemble, overshoot, prepare, remove, select, take, test, use, write, roll, turn.
You see the difference? These are more action. Some kind of activity. Right, activity verbs. Okay, Ushamati, let's see what kind of verbs you'll use for your values objectives.
Agree, answer, choose, complete, describe, diagnose, alter, recognize, differentiate, discuss, explain, follow, help, identify, disagree, solve, indicate, list, make, modify, name, prepare, join, reproduce, produce, relate, reply, separate, use, verify, write, argue.
Okay, so you see some new words are creeping in. Some words seem to fit, but you'll see new words in there, such as evaluate, adjust, argue, persuade, right? These are more the subtle types of things that happen in the mind. These are just to give you some tips on how to word your different types of knowledge, skills, and values objectives. This is a very handy little guidebook. I actually, one nice thing about doing a little handout like this, I drew from many sources. I took from Bourgeon's book. I took from other books, and that way you can give people a little tiny little compendium of all the different resources that you have in handy size. All right? So next, Manaji, would you like to read a summary of writing effective explicit instructional objectives, part 1? This is straight from Art of Teaching.
Understanding how to prepare instructional objectives is essential for teachers. The reason is obvious. You cannot select the best method of reaching your destination until the destination is clearly defined. Only when the educational goal is known can procedures, content, methods of learning, and evaluate procedures be effectively discussed.
Now this is so important. If you want to fly to Australia to do a seminar, do you just go jump on the plane? Do you realize even those of you who came here, did you have to go through a lot to get here? What did you start with?
The tickets.
The tickets. And then what else?
The packing.
Packing. And then what about accommodations? Accommodations.
It took us 1 month to just...
Yeah, and budgeting? Was it just you jumped on the car and got here? No way. Do you think teaching is any different? Same thing. You just don't jump into the pool. This is so important. He said, unless you're clear about the definition of the destination, you cannot be clear about the procedures, content, methods of learning, evaluative procedures, until you know that. I need to know where I'm going if I have to decide how to get there. Makes sense? If you go to Calcutta, you have to figure out how to go to Calcutta. Otherwise, you may wind up in Bombay. Right? So important. Okay, next, Manaji, you want to read about you read the rest of the page.
Here are definitions of 3 kinds of objectives. The first one, non-specific long-term aims are called educational objectives.
Now this is a new word, an educational objective. It's an objective, but educational objective means it's closer to being a name. It's long-term. Okay, next.
Second, aims that express the desired terminal behavior only in terms of the unobservable inner changes in the students are called implicit instructional objectives.
Here's another new word, implicit. This is the inside. I can't measure this so easily, but it's an implicit objective. It's hard to measure, but some inner change. First one is a new term, educational objective. Now we have implicit instructional objective. And now what's your third one?
The third point, aims that precisely and explicitly express students' terminal behavior in observable terms are labeled explicit instructional objectives.
Very good. So please make a little wheel and put these 3 terms. Because this helps, again, even sharpen your understanding of what needs to be done. These are called effective instructional objectives. So your first one is educational objective. Your second one is implicit instructional objective, and the other one is explicit. If something is implicit, it's implied. If it's explicit, it's spelled out. And if it's educational, it's long-term. So this is the vocabulary of the profession. I think now that'll help you make you all more professional. Right? You go to medical school, you learn the terms. Educational objectives, implicit objectives, instructional objectives, explicit instructional objectives. These are the daily things that you can easily test and measure. These are the ones that are more implied, and these are your long-term goals. And this you will all find, there's a very good chapter on this in Art of Teaching. I think this should inspire you to go back to that section of the book and read the whole thing. Actually, Gurujan is excellent on this. He's excellent on this. Because he is one of the masterminds behind the whole Bhakti Shastri program. And you'll see the way that everything is spelled out to the point. Okay, now we'll wrap it up. Summary of writing effective explicit instructional objectives. Now it sounds like we're hammering away at this, but it is so important because the tendency is, if you don't have them, the tendency is you won't teach anything at all. You'll just spend time. So where were we in our going around the room? Sundari is next. Okay?
Summary of writing effective explicit instructional objectives. Explicit instructional objectives are generally preferred over implicit instructional objectives when planning a lesson because they allow us to evaluate the success of our teaching. Some pointers on writing explicit instructional objectives are listed below. Okay, so Umesh, you read the first tip.
A well-written objective is not a description of what will be done. It specifies the kind of behavior that will be accepted as evidence.
Evidence, that's a good word.
That the learner has achieved the objective. Write a separate statement for each objective that you wish the learner to master.
Okay, so you should have on your paper, your lesson plan paper, a statement of each objective. That means what will the student be able to do. Okay, next, Damodar.
A well-written objective does not have general words like know, appreciate or understand in its statement of the successful terminal behavior of the learner. Rather, it uses specific words like identify, construct or contrast which denote activity. Such words clearly tell what one should be able to do if one knows, appreciates or understands.
Right, it's not enough to say he knows or understands or appreciates. Specifically, what should he be able to do? It comes up again and again and again and again, because why do they repeat it again and again and again? Because normally it's not taken into consideration. Next, Prabhu, you read the final one.
In describing the terminal behavior, the well-written objective defines the conditions under which the behavior will be expected to occur.
This is very important. Read that again. The conditions under which it's going to be able to occur. Go ahead.
It also states the criteria for minimum acceptable performance. One way of doing this is by expressing a time limit.
Very good. That's why we use timers. So two things here, very critical. It explains the conditions and also the criterion for performance. Yesterday we would do handwriting, right? What's the criterion for an acceptable letter? What's the criterion for acceptable spelling of the Spalding method? If it doesn't have this, it didn't meet the criterion. And then you have that's why we brought the timers in. Because you have to use timers. You've got to say, I've got to be able to do this in 2 minutes. I have to be able to do this in 15 minutes, a spelling list. You have to have the criterion established for acceptable performance. It's not okay if the child can say 70 phonograms and it takes them 24 hours. That wouldn't be an acceptable criterion. He should be able to do 70 phonograms in 2 minutes, ideally. So understand that point? Performance. Okay, and here's the last sentence, and Anita, you read this one. We'll skip over you, because this is so key. Go ahead, Anita.
If one feels his teaching objectives cannot be evaluated, he may find that he is actually teaching nothing at all.
And this is, I think this is, I remember when I read that, I thought it was just the crux of the whole thing. You'll find, and that's often what happens in lectures. In schools, they're not teaching anything at all. You want to read that? I think this is the whole thing. Go ahead. This you should etch this across your foreheads, teachers. Right? Go ahead.
If one feels his teaching objectives cannot be evaluated, he may find that he is actually teaching nothing at all.
Sound familiar? You ever been in situations like that? Do you ever want to create a situation like that after this class? Did we change everybody's outlook on life? We've succeeded. Okay. I'm going to pass out one more set of packets here, and we need to take a break because we've exceeded the realistic time. I hope I packed these along. And I didn't have time to put these in sequence. Some of you people have these things already. Oh no, I didn't pull it off the shelf. I'll bring it along tomorrow. I was pulling everything off and it was up on the shelf. I have packets for you that include, and we'll do this after the break, the 7 intelligences, the 6 Bloom's taxonomy. Do you all have that or not? Okay, I don't believe I left that at home. And also the format for a lesson plan, and the lesson plan book, more lesson plan books. And in there, in that packet, also the anatomy of an interactive textbook. So that when you're planning, and I brought this book along too. I think I remember this. I tried to pull things out and pack them. My packing, which was the, I'll have to check after the break, but it's called Multiple Intelligences. It combines, you have that book, right, it's where you combine Bloom with Gardner.
That we have in the library.
You have it, yeah, so you have it in the library. How to plan a class, so you combine Bloom and Gardner, and we'll talk briefly about those again. And I had packets for you on all that. Oh, here. Yeah, this packet. She's got the masters. Okay, this is what I have for all of you. I'll just hold it up. This is from the BAT, Teaching Vaishnav. This is the assessment. This is how do you write a lesson plan. Here's a sample one with on the back, a model class. You have this as well? Okay, I had those again, new packets for everybody. Here you have, how do you turn your pages? Okay. Here you have Bloom's taxonomy with all the vocabulary on the back, a sample of the 7 intelligences applied to a lesson on photosynthesis. This is from the, remember we put that school, American School? Their physics book. I took an icon, I made an icon for every feature that book had. It was unbelievable. Every feature that they had, that they used to get your curiosity or build a skill or provide a resource. And there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 times 2, 22 features in the textbook. These textbooks are not dry. Full of pictures, full of activities, how to link things with jobs, how to link things with environmental concerns, how to link things with technology, how to link things with art, literature. And it's just an amazing book. They'll even give you books, literature books that this topic comes up in. You know, it's an amazing book. They charge a lot of money, but I found that those are the books I told you I was doing a seminar, and at the end of the seminar, the books were gone. And one of the participants just picked them up and said, I had to go for, where's the books? And he just put them in his bag and he says, oh, I wanted to take them home and look at them, you know. You know, like about $500 worth of books in his pocket. And I really chewed him out. Prabhu, that's not ethical. You at least ask, you know. Okay, and then your teacher behavior inventory. Check yourself in there. This packet's complete. And then evaluate your teaching by students and staff member standards and avoiding low expectation behavior. And then the last thing was the reference page. So you don't have, yeah, no, I have all those packets at home. I have at least a dozen. I just didn't pull them off the shelf. First thing tomorrow. You have a few, not everything. But this relates to us right now. This is how a lesson plan was done for the VET courses. Your name, what class you're giving, the date, the time. Your topic, your aim, your explicit objectives. Aim, explicit objectives, the time, what are you going to teach, who's going to do it? Will it be the teacher? Will it be a group? Will it be a student? You break it up. How do you organize? Is it whole class, or is it small groups, or peer tutoring? Your resources. I always bring books. Did you notice? When I did seminars, I used to have practically a suitcase, and I had all the books out so people at the break. And because you brought your own, Srinatha said you don't need to take them. They've got a lot of this. But I had the books out, so on break people could go look at the book. And then your assessment method, right? Everything is here. And on the back of the white one, this is just a sample, is a sample on a class for teaching something about the Civil War, Reconstruction after the Civil War, and how they did that. So now we'll just give everybody a chance to go out and get some fresh air. Remember, kids, how do we behave in the hallways? How do we behave in the hallways? Like real Vaishnavas, right? Real Vaishnavas. So this packet is for your lesson plan packet. Okay, you got the little booklet already. Those came back, but I'm just sorry. I had it on the shelf and then I was packing up and I forgot to pull that one off. Okay, everybody understand so far? Yes. Okay, feedback okay? Yes. Good. I think now you're not so panicked. It's really remember Wilkinson said, why are you responsible to God? Because you control subject, speaker, and style. I'm not here to tell you what to do. Irmala's not going to tell you what to do if you ring her up. Those big decisions come from you, according to the needs of your student and your intentions. That should be what you got from this. But it should be expressed in explicit terms that you can measure. Otherwise, you won't be teaching your children anything at all. And I think that that's our summation of this whole session. Okay? Okay, take a break. Get some fresh air. Because when we come back, we're going to do some other quick things. And we have a surprise. At the end of the day, when you go to bed, you live with yourself. You have to feel, I can rest peacefully tonight. I'm not putting on some kind of a myth. All right, so we've had a lot of requests in our very limited period of time. It's almost 5 here. So let me just mark what some of the requests are, because at this stage of the game, since we don't know what tomorrow will bring, we've had requests, and this is where our feedback comes in. If this is our last maybe half hour, we're going to stretch it. We have had requests for checking the Spalding assessment book. How do I use it? That's come up 2 or 3 times. We have had a request for, because I think the lesson plan requests have been satisfied, right?
Yes.
I think that was good. And I think that should help you go back with confidence now. No more vague teaching. It goes on for years and you wind up not having taught anything. Because you can see that's what he says. And that's what happened, right? We have had requests to go over the Hare Krishna. well, we'll call one, the art system, how to mount your books. Art. How to use the book. This is just what I did, right? They want how to mount something. This is a skill, simple skill. We've had a request to discuss some of the more complicated diagrams, right? Grammar. You all got the color coding, right? You know, the red, yellow, blue, pink. That's easy. So some of the diagramming. And I'm trying to think what other requests came up.
Rules.
The rules of Spalding. Spalding rules. The rules. So let's see if we can do that. It's really good to put your things up so you can see them, right? And I still love the idea of the wheel. Do you all like the idea of the wheel better? Isn't it easy? You know, I list things in a bullet plan. It doesn't work. The wheel is so powerful. And let's see how fast we should set our time. Let's say 5 minutes on the first one. Okay. Do you have that? I think I have that book with me, the assessment book. I'm trying to think. I have it. You have one. Okay. Now, when I thought about this, because I was asked by about 2 or 3 people, how do we use the assessment book? One of my aims with this course was to equip you with skills, if you remember, on how, as Wilkinson says, teach anything to anyone. Wilkinson not only gave us the attitudes for teaching, but he gave us the methodology by which we could take any subject. If you go back to Bombay or you go back to the Gurukula, whether it's math, whether it's Bhakti Shastri, whether it's geography, whether it's spelling, how do I take any book and teach it? Now, I perhaps didn't succeed yet, but I want to do this in the next 4 minutes. Because if I tell you how to do one book only, then it's like you teach a child, you tie his shoes once. If you teach him, you tie his shoes 1,000 times. So I have to show you one more time how you yourself know how to take this book. How many of you have this book with you? Okay, get it out right now. Now, I had this book. Nobody told me what to do. Now, let us task analyze, because every task we have requires task analysis. So here we have Spalding Spelling Assessment Manual, aligned to the Writing Road to Reading. Okay, I've got this book. Nobody's here. I'm all alone in the world. I'm on a desert island. What's the first thing I do to figure out how to teach? I'm on a desert island with my kid. What do? I walk through the book. Very good. That was what we talked about. Remember? That is a skill. You could go back to Bombay and you could pick a book off the shelf called the Cambridge Book on Language Arts, and you could pick it up and you could teach the course. That's all I ever did. I'm in the middle of Vrindavan. No Bruce Wilkinson was here. No Ramada Spalding was here. No Betty Edwards was here. Somebody handed me a book. You task analyze. That's what I hoped. Now, did you catch that was one of my aims? My aims was to teach you how to go back and teach anything to anyone. Right? That's teaching. That's real teaching. Whether it's math, English, Bhakti Shastri. Okay. What do you see in this book, everybody? Okay. What's on the table of I've got her copy. What does it say on the table of contents, Radharani? Because she's the one who asked the question. Read it.
Phonogram assessment procedures, spelling assessment procedures, Morrison-McCall spelling scale, testing and record keeping forms. Okay, now part of the book, remember? Check it out. Half is just forms. Did you notice that? Yeah. Half is just forms. So that cuts the book in half. Learn how to think like this.
How do I chop the thing down to a bite size? You guys are going to get a piece of cake today. I defy you to put the whole thing in your mouth. Well, maybe a few exceptional cases. But we'll stand around and check it out. So the first half of the book is what? Say it again, Radharani? Because I thought about her last night. I said, she's going to tell us how to use this book. Okay, Radharani, tell us what to do.
Phonogram assessment procedures.
Okay, everybody, Radharani just told us what? Very good. I'm trying to convince her that she's already equipped. She doesn't think she is, but you are. What's the next thing, Radharani? Tell us what we...
Spelling assessment procedures.
Procedures. Do you remember the Spalding method? Procedures first half, second half, materials. Right? The job is cut in half. Okay, what's the next thing?
Morrison-McCall spelling scale.
Morrison-McCall spelling scale. Now that's something a little bit new, but this is a testing program. You can give your kids tests in here and figure out their spelling age. Not their reading grade level, their spelling age. From grade 1 through first year college. In this book. Okay? All right, let's take a look at the book. Now we go through, because normally you look at something on this and it looks intimidating, but just read the table of contents. Is it scary now? No, not scary at all. There's an introduction. Okay, that usually tells you a little bit about philosophy. Okay, and then we see program, phonogram, assessment procedures. All right? Radharani, would you read on page 2 what the title says there? So, okay, page 2. Under phonogram, assessment procedures. Kindergarten,
first grade students new to Spalding.
Good. That's I'm just talking about the next subtopic. In other words, when you walk through the book, you analyze the subtopics and the main topics. Okay, so here we see kindergarten, first grade students new to Spalding. You have to diagnose them. Okay, what are the next big headings, Radharani?
Getting started, evaluate daily oral and written phonogram reviews.
Okay, next.
Appropriate.
Everybody following? Okay, go ahead.
Select appropriate phonograms for daily reviews.
Okay, next week.
Provide weekly phonogram quizzes to measure progress.
Okay, you have a clue now what's in the book. Is it a big mystery now? No, you can erase the question mark. You all know this. I think you just didn't realize you did. Okay, what's on the next page?
And then first grade students who are taught Spalding in kindergarten and all older students.
Okay, now how to deal with this? Because here we have part 2, and all older students. Everybody in here fits that category. Everybody in here is 7 on up. So you fall into this category. You're not kindergartners, and you're not totally new to Spalding anymore. Are you? No, because you know it to some degree. Okay, what are you going to find out about them?
Pre-test to evaluate student knowledge of phonograms.
Okay, and they're going to tell you how to do that. And then what's the next big heading?
Evaluate daily oral and written phonogram reviews to adjust instruction.
Okay.
And post-test to evaluate grade level achievement.
Okay, 3 major things. Doesn't sound so tough. Not a lot of reading. All little bullet points. Okay, now, she's taking us on to page 7. Everybody following in the book? You don't have this book, but we can get this copy for you. I even have it on a disc. It can be put into the computer, and you can print out your own forms. But it's cheaper usually to photocopy, I think. Well, maybe not. I don't know if you have the equipment. Okay, Radharani's on page 7. Everybody follow. She's the teacher now. She's telling you how to psych out the book. She's the one who thought that she didn't know. Now she's showing herself. She does. Go ahead.
Spelling assessment procedure.
Use your accelerator. Everybody? I want to see everybody using the cursor.
Spelling assessment procedures. Kindergarten and first grade students new to Spalding.
Okay, this is for the kindergarten and first grade. Nobody in here fits that. Okay?
Then
Pranab does, okay, one person, I'm sorry, he's at that age, go ahead, I'm sorry,
kindergarten
Pranab.
and first grade students new to Spalding, daily assessments,
Okay, she's now passing common hours,
then weekly
examples.
assessments, monthly assessments.
Wow,
Everything is there in this.
everything's, I mean, she's so thorough, these people are like doctors. They are, they're scientists, actually, they're very scientific. That's why I love this system, it's scientific. You know, you don't have to goof around. I know when I had my operation, you know, I headed straight to a professional hospital with doctors and equipment, and, you know, I didn't want to goof around with the locals. You want to go to somebody who knows what they're doing, right? Go ahead, what's next?
First grade students who are taught Spalding in kindergarten and all older students.
Okay, so this is our section.
Pre-test to identify each student's instruction level.
Okay, pre-testing. Now that was the one thing we did not discuss in your lesson planning. Before you start something, you need to what? Diagnose. If you don't diagnose, you don't. Right? If you have to lose weight, the first thing you do is get on the scales. And you find out how much you are. And then after 1 month, you see if there's any weight loss. But if you don't ever get on the scales to begin with, then how do you know if you lost weight? Obviously, maybe you look thinner, but you want to know exactly how much you're losing, at what rate. Or if you're supposed to put weight on, right? Or if your blood pressure's too high. Boy, that's dangerous if you don't know what it is. You have to check it every week, right? So you have to diagnose, and you regularly diagnose, because it can go up and you can go down. Okay, go ahead, Radharani. She's doing a great job. You people are more self-intelligent than you think. That's the problem. Go ahead. We are all on page 14.
Determine each student's instructional level.
Okay, so you have to determine, and they'll tell you how to do that.
And determine the classes, that is page 17. Classes initial instructional level. Measures daily and weekly performance. Evaluate monthly progress to refine instruction.
Tell us which pages you're on now.
18, next page.
She's on 18, okay.
So the heading is the same. So I'm not
Okay, this is
repeating.
all first grade and older students, right? So you're essentially going from what pages, Radharani?
18.
Okay, 18, where did it start now? 14, right?
Yeah.
So you isolate what you want, right? On 14, you don't have to do the whole book, folks. You just find the section that's applicable. Okay, make your job mind easy. Don't suffer. Okay, next.
And page 19.
This is very
Morrison McCall spelling scale.
Yes, now they have a scale in here. I've done this with the kids. They have list 1. Go ahead, tell them. Read them. List 1, list 2.
You have list 1, list 2, list 3, list 4, list 5, list 6, 7, 8.
I think there are 8 lists.
8 lists.
Okay, now this list includes words that are first grade and words that are first year college. And the idea is they give you the word. They give you a sentence and the child has to spell it. Afterwards, you check the number of correct answers. And guess what? That corresponds to his spelling grade level. Now, there are very few tests that do this. So you have here 8, and you can choose any one of them. Any one of them will do the same thing. So you start with go on the last number 8, up to words like orchestra, syllables, mortgage, persistence, and incessant.
You ask them to make sentences, Martin? You ask them to make sentences? Or
They give you the sentence. You don't have to do anything, folks. You just have to read it.
And the child has to identify the
No, the child has to spell it. In other words, let's say Tanvi. You take out a piece of paper. I take out the book Tanvi. The first word you have to spell is go. I'll use it in a sentence. You may go home And then she has to write the word. And you just go right down the list. No, no, not in this case. Yeah, this is just to see her grade level. And then they will give you a percentage. So many right puts you at this grade level. So many right puts you at this grade level. You can be in the first grade and you can be spelling first year college. You can be in the 8th grade and be spelling first grade. That is what you use. You teach according to the level, not the age of the child. It doesn't matter if she's 12 or 11. She may be spelling, at a 5th grade level right now, or 4th or 12th grade. Has nothing to do with her physical age. 8 tests, it doesn't matter which one, they all do the same. I used to give these tests, and they're great. The kid just has to hear the word, you hear it in a simple sentence, see if they can spell it. You take the percentage, and the McCall's Travis test, we had all those books in the school, Manachi, and the forms for checking them. And on Saturday, with my little timer, every class would take 3 or 4 tests. They were only 3 minutes each. And then we knew if they're reading at 7th grade level, 12th grade level, 3rd grade level, 2nd grade level, we knew. And I had a record on every kid in the school. It was all there. So you can see, that's why. But the systems, the Spalding has got it all codified. Forms. So does everybody get the idea of how easy this is? There is, and I think they will tell you that on the spelling scale, how to evaluate it. Let me just take a peek. I don't know exactly where it was, but I remember I found it in the book. The Morrison-McCall spelling scale consists of 8 standardized 50-word tests of equal difficulty. The scale was developed by J. Case Morrison, Ph.D., and William A. McCall, Ph.D. Dr. Morrison was a specialist in educational measurements at the State Department of Education, Albany, New York. Dr. McCall was a professor of educational psychology at Teachers College, Columbia University, New York. So they give you who put the test together? Morrison-McCall. The words were selected from the extended Ayres list of high-frequency words, compiled by Dr. Leonard P. Ayres and Dr. V. R. Buckingham. The authors acknowledged the assistance of these gentlemen and expressed appreciation for the teachers and superintendents of the New York State schools who participated in the norming samples. These norms represent average achievement for 57,337 students. The grade scores for each test range from grades 1.0 to grade 13. That's first year college. First year college. Mrs. Spalding incorporated the extended Ayres list in the Writing Road to Reading and obtained permission to reproduce the Morrison-McCall spelling scale. This scale now is in the public domain. That means they don't have legal rights on it. Therefore, we have incorporated the pertinent parts in the SEI Spalding Assessment Manual. Spelling scores on standardized achievement tests should be at least 1 year above the grade placement for each child to assure subject area competence and a smooth transition to the next grade. So if you're a 3rd grader, you should try to be at 4th grade level. Now that's an important point. So that means you can go to the next grade. Question?
They have given that on page 16. How to grade them?
On page 16, she's got her how to evaluate. Oh, perfect. Words correct, none. Words correct, 25. 13, that means grade 13. Okay? Easy enough? Super. She answered her own questions. She's your next seminar person. She's going to go back now. She's going to go back, and all of you are going to equip every adult in the whole yatra. Is that a deal? We trained equippers here, right? You're going to go back, and you can have sessions in your home. You can have sessions in some church. You can have sessions in the temple. You can have sessions, in the park. I don't care. You can have sessions on all this stuff. You've done it now. You can show them how to use a book. You can teach them the phonograms. You can make copies of the CDs. Become equippers. You should make it a mission statement that everybody in that whole yatra knows the phonograms. Well, it sounds like a good idea to me. And guess what? You can even make an appointment with the Ministry of Education in the whole country of India and say, hey folks, we got the answer for your country. You do. You do. Is it very hard to psych out a book, folks? No, if I stood up here and just answered the question, I thought about this and I thought, Radharani knows how to do this. And she does. You feel better about this now? How about you? You feel better? You're going to go back now and you're going to pick out books for Bal and you're going to teach them. It doesn't matter whether it's physics, chemistry, algebra 2, geometry, Sanskrit maybe needs some help. You guys can do it. That was what Wilkinson said. Did you come here for 3 weeks just to go back with some little paltry? No way. All right, we accomplished this one. I forgot to set the timer. That was not on purpose. Everybody happy with the idea?
Yes.
Any book in the library? I used to do that. I used to go to the library and I would just look through books on vocabulary, books on this, books on that, and I would take them and I'd go through and I would pull out anything in it I thought was gold and I'd weave it in. Every book has some merit. Even some of the little children's books. You'll be surprised. Sometimes the most insightful lessons. Frog and Toad. I remember there were 2 stories in Frog and Toad that were so Krishna conscious. One was about the cookies, how they couldn't control themselves. And another one was about a dream. I must tell you this story. Frog and Toad. Frog is a little smart and Toad is a little dull. And they're good friends. And Toad falls asleep and he dreams. And tell me if this isn't Krishna conscious. And in the dream, he thinks he's on stage and he's famous. And there's a big auditorium and his friend, Frog, is in the front row, sitting right there watching him perform. Nobody else is in the auditorium. Frog and Toad is on stage. And there's an Akashvani voice coming from the sky. Da-da-da-da! Ladies and gentlemen, you are now going to see the world's greatest tightrope artist, Frog. So there he is with his costume, and he's the world's greatest. And Toad, I mean, Frog, you see how good I am? Look at this. I'm the best, right? And then he's trying something else, like playing the piano. And then the voice comes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the world's greatest piano player, Toad. Dun, 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 dun. Hey, Frog, look, see how good I am? But every time he's doing something new, Frog is getting smaller and smaller in his chair. By the final performance, he's something else really wonderful. He's the world's greatest, who knows what. And he's in a costume. Hey, Frog, look, I'm the world's greatest. What happened to Frog? He's gone. He's not there anymore. I can't see him. Frog, my best friend, what happened to you? Where are you? So he's in his bed and Frog wakes him up. Frog, you're there. Oh my God, I had a dream. But in the dream you disappeared, but you're really there. He said, Toad, what's the matter? And, I know what happened in the last section in the dream. The voice was saying, when Frog was disappearing, and now you will see Frog, the world's greatest. He said, shut up. It's not worth it. I lost my best friend. So the whole point was, the bigger his ego got, the smaller his friend seemed. The bigger his ego got, the smaller his friend appeared, until he finally disappeared and he lost him. What a story. Isn't that a great story? It's in the second grade reader, Frog and Toad. I couldn't believe that one. It's true. Isn't it a fact when you think you're really something, nobody else really counts? You don't even notice them? But if you're actually really sensitive to your friends, you want to know all about them. So finally at the end I told the voice from the sky to shut up. It's not worth losing my friend. Anyway, you'll find something in every book. You'll find something. That was the point. Every book has something. These people, you know what? They're getting inspiration from Krishna. You just have to find out what it was. They're getting inspiration from Krishna. Okay, next, art. How to mount your book. So what you do, you take these little books, if you got the Betty Edwards program, you follow it. Remember now, we just taught you how to use your books? That's all I did, ABC. We did the introductions, we got everybody fired out of it. You take the little red book, you mount your pictures. Now, does she have her 4 little drawings? Okay, just give me her first one. You were supposed to do 4 drawings, and you're not supposed to write in the book, right? The book is for mounting. It's a portfolio. Because a portfolio means you have selected pieces. All you need is a little glue stick, and your piece should have a date on it in pencil. The first few pieces we just had in pencil, and you just need a little bit of a glue stick. Now this is a skill, very basic. Does she have, yeah, not her face, but the one that was, the first drawing was of a person, the second drawing was of a face, the third drawing was of the left hand, and the fourth drawing was of a chair. Okay, so in your book, this is your, it's like an album. You know, when we were little, we used to have albums. We would keep pictures or drawings or things like that. Okay, so in this book, because this will be your portfolio, did she do that one of Aristasura? Yeah. Look at this. Now this is why this is fantastic. Isn't this fantastic? Composition, line work. Did you ink over this too? Yes. This is fantastic. This looks like Picasso. I'm not exaggerating. Isn't this good? Yes. And you see when you put the ink on the lines? What do you think, Srinand? Does this look like, you know, just baby stuff and a little flower and something that they've done in the comfort zone work? This is stretch zone work. This is stretch zone work. Never let them go back to comfort zone work. Don't do that. Don't do that. Isn't that nice? This, mounted in a book like this, what happens? She could get into an art school on this one. No, I'm not kidding you. My friend Sudama was in Gurukula. He came to me a couple of weeks of this program, got into to 2 art schools in Delhi on the basis of the Little Red Book. I said, wow. Immediately, professional level. Just a few tips. Okay, so let's start with her first one. Because you put them in order. Seriously, no, the person. No, just the face. You know, did she have the person?
Yeah.
I just want to show you how to mount something. Because there's a secret to it. You can't find that one right now. Yeah, keep all the work and keep it in order. Okay, this was her first piece. And remember, we asked you to draw a whole person and put a border around it. It's a little bit big for the page. So I didn't bring my good scissors along, but if we perforate this. Okay, so here's her first piece. This is how she draws a person. And now it doesn't matter if it's good or bad, because a diagnostic beginning has no relevance. All right, this probably needs to be trimmed a little bit. You put a little bit of glue stick, just something simple like this. I'm not going to put it in because it needs to be trimmed. Okay? You put a little bit of glue stick along the top of the piece, and you put it along the top of the page first, okay? And if you want to glue the whole thing, you have to be really careful that you position it right. Okay. The other thing is, start from, when you put it on, when you stick it on the page, you position it first at the top. Sometimes in art school, we used to put another piece of paper underneath and let the thing go down so you don't get any buckles. All right? And often with the children, maybe I would just lightly put an X in the back or just go lightly around the edges. And then you take a ruler, and you take the ruler, and then you slide it down over the page. So it's just a nice, smooth fitting. All right? But you don't want to just glue it on the edges and then stick it either in the wrong place or have it buckle. The idea, we actually used to use rubber cement for mounting. You have to put rubber cement on two surfaces. On the one surface you're mounting on and the back. And then you had to be careful because once it touches, it's stuck. So we had to make sure we would put another piece of paper in between, start at the top, and then carefully push it down and take a ruler and push it down, and it just irons it all out. Perfectly flat mount. Because sometimes we had to mount photographs too. So they had to look completely flat. All right? And so you don't ruin the piece, put another piece of paper on top. Why would we do that?
Just to level it.
So it doesn't stick to the other.
That, and also we don't smear it. It doesn't smudge. You have to learn to keep your work clean. Right? And you try to handle, make sure your hands, and also when I'm working with pencil, I keep a piece of paper under my hand.
Especially when you're using oil pastels.
Yes, otherwise it smudges. So that's why I make such a big deal about turning pages. Because everything we had to do in art school, the thing had to look like a finished product. If you had pages that were dog-eared, they would flunk you out of class. So you can, when you put the ruler over the top, put a piece of paper on top, right? And as you're dropping the page down, slide the piece of paper down, and then everything will stick nicely. And you just need a minimal amount of glue. Why? Just a little bit of glue. If you put too much, what happens? You'll get blobs and bumps, right? It'll squirt out the side like toothpaste. Everything you do should be professional. And you put the things in order. And I mean, my God, this is... Now, remember when I told you, you take the Pentel and you ink them? Did it look better? And then you all cleaned it up with your rubber, your eraser? I'm going to tell you one more secret. I didn't have time to dig it out of the... Look at how nice this looks. Okay? The minute you put the inking on, it jumps up to the Matisse Picasso level. Just one little secret. And I'll tell you one more little secret. I used to take watercolor pencils, and we would work from books that were nice drawings. Like there's some books in the library that were for beginning children, you know, like they have shoes and balloons and watermelons, and they were in color. So we would take the colored pencil and with the color, and then a tiny bit of water on a brush before we inked. You draw it in pencil, put a little bit of color, put a little bit of water, and then the thing just you get like just a little rouge thing, you know. And then when it dries, you ink it. Professional.
Different type of pencil colors.
You can use colored pencil. You can also use watercolor pencil. You first do them very lightly. And I often had my kids draw with the brown watercolor pencil. After the drawing, we put water on it. Whoa, looks like Da Vinci. Just little tricks. They would draw with the pencil. After they're done, yeah, I should bring those along. You know, brown watercolor pencils. You do the drawing. Take a little bit of water. Just put a little bit of water over it, or over the line, or just wash it over the page, and you get It's just like the way the masters used to do it. And if you use brown, because they used to use brown ink. And we would do, that's what actually that boy did. He was doing drawings with his brown pencil and adding a little bit of water. He looked at it and I'm like, God, looks like Da Vinci. Because that's what they did. It's just a matter of a few little tricks. And immediately it goes right up to the professional level. And you will never be happy with anything else. You look at the other baby stuff or other canned work that's coming out in most books, you won't want it. You won't want it. Okay? Good tips.
Regular pencils, no watercolor pencils.
You can use watercolor pencils. We used to use 3 things. Colored pencils, and then 15 rupees, a little palette, a little plastic palette, 15 rupees, 15 colors in there, little tiny brush. Just dab a few colors in there, you know, practice on the paper, put it in, let it dry. There were 3 or 4 books in the library. They were big books, and the illustrations were large for kids. Simple things like balloons, watermelons, numbers, pears, whatever. And the students would just draw the simple shapes, but they would use it as a color reference. And then they would see if they could duplicate the colors they saw. And then we would either do them in colored pencil, or watercolor pencil, and after we're done, ink the lines, look just like the book. Exactly. They could have been illustrators, first time off. So we regularly, and what I did on a regular basis with the children, or the adults, 3 drawings a day. Maybe half size, 1 from real life, 2 from a photograph, the 3rd one from a book. So you learn how to see from real life, you know, whatever you draw, a pair of scissors, a pair of shoes, something deity paraphernalia. Deity paraphernalia is a wonderful thing to draw. You know, all the beautiful things, the shoes of the Lord. It's a wonderful meditation. Draw from a photograph. And the 3rd thing was draw from art. And that way, every day, 3 pictures. I would have them do maybe half size like this, or even quarter size. They didn't have to be big. And they mounted those, and boy, this book just filled up, and you could see the progress right away. And usually the work coming from other books was in color. So they would try to duplicate the color. And that was even before we got into the section on color. Right away I, sort of pushed them to that. But we did do the chapter on space first. So they knew how to compose. We would make a little piece of paper with a window, and they would learn how to, like a camera, design the space. See how she doesn't take space into account here. But in this one, her negative spaces are just as good as her positives. You see how powerful this is? Her negative spaces, this is fantastic. She still looks like as though she's got a stomach ache. Huh? Anyway, is that somewhat helpful? Is everybody to follow this? Is skill building today. These books will be beautiful. And you just follow Betty Edwards to the T. I did. Everything she said, read about it. She's fabulous, she's funny, she's clever, and it works. And if this kid can draw like this now, I don't know, Sri Ananta, would you ever think these kids could come to this level? And the parents will too. You do it. Every one of you, I guarantee. I never had a student that didn't perform after going through the exercises at top level, because it's innate. It's not a joke. Okay, and you see all these are these inked in now? She's inked everything, hold them up. You see when they're inked in? The impact. Immediate. One simple tool. And then clean the page, and that's why I say turn your pages. That is the one thing I have not taught you. Everybody here still does the old way. Now I had an idea and I didn't get it done. I wanted to take a piece of cardboard and fold it into a triangle. So maybe do this. And maybe I'll still make them tonight and it'll be your going away present. A big triangle, and you put it in the bottom corner of your book. You know? Like an envelope, like if I took an envelope and I cut the corner, you put that in the bottom corner of your book. Any book you're about to read, or your notebook. You put that in the bottom corner, and what does that mean? You're going to have to use your left hand in the corner. Does that sound like the only other thing I could think of is an electric shock. But I couldn't figure out how to do that one. You know, the minute it goes like this, it goes, oh! You know, like if you touch your computer with your shoes off, you know? I told Damodar that was my plan, but I couldn't figure out how to rig it up. But then after he left, I thought about the cardboard on the corner. You take a piece, you go across this big. You know how in the old days they used to have blotters on the desk? And the blotter had corners on it. Put a big corner on the bottom of your book. And then you use your left hand. And that'll help you when you're reading 5,000 words a minute. Okay? Whose is this? Yours. So far so good. We did this. Okay, diagramming. We got to finish today. I know it's long, but the cake is waiting. Do you all have your diagramming books? Please get out your diagramming books because everything is in the book. Again, I think you're just afraid to read, that's all. What's that?
Diagramming, you said you're going to do something more today.
What else besides the diagramming? Okay.
You just said you practice a few days.
Yeah, we practice a few. This book is complete. Let's turn to some advanced page, like 37. Look at this diagram, it's huge. But they give you the sentence. I'll read the sentence, and here's the diagram, and then you know enough. The Japanese never wear shoes in their houses because their floors are covered with a perishable, soft, straw-colored matting called tatami. All right, this is the architecture of what I just read. That is the architecture of what I just read. So the challenge, you've got the books here. These are exercises, folks. This is a course. It starts from very beginning sentences all the way up to here. This is what we call a complex sentence. Because, right? Subordinate clause. All right, so here, if you look on page 37, you just remember we taught you these features. Intersect a line, perpendicular. Here's a slanted line. Here's another slanted line with an arm. Here's another modifier. Here's a dotted line. This will be for your subordinate conjunction. Okay? And here's your next subordinate clause. There's a line. Here's the subject side. Here's the predicate side. Here's a modifier. Here we have a slanted line. This is probably for a prepositional phrase with its object. 1, 2, 3, 4 modifiers. And this is a participle. The curve with an object. All right, we talked about everything but a participle, but we drew it, right? And I made a mistake yesterday. The symbol I gave you that was the bird is for a gerund, not for an infinitive. The infinitive is on stilts, but it's just like that. Looks like a crocodile. The gerund is on stilts, but it looks like a bird. That was my mistake. I thought about that later. A gerund is an ing form of a verb used as a noun. Chanting is our main business. Chanting is an ing form of the verb chant, but it's used as a noun. That's called a gerund. A participle is either an ed or ing form of a verb used as an adjective. And if you put to in front of a verb, you can use it as a noun or a modifier. To swim, to chant, to run. To be or not to be? That's the most famous line, is the question. To be or not to be? That is the question. That's from Shakespeare. So here we go. Japanese. right here. Subject. Never wear shoes. Verb. I'll put everything in red. I don't want to try to change colors. We don't have enough. Where's the box here? Red. Okay. So, everybody got it? Because we'll do a hard one, because if you can do a hard one, you can do an easy one. Okay, on page 37, are you all with us, more or less? Subject is what? Japanese. All right? And what's the verb?
Never.
Well, never is an adverb. Where? You got it. That's the action word. And what do they wear or never wear?
Shoes.
Shoes, that's your object, shoes. And never is an adverb, so that goes under the verb wear. Japanese never wear shoes. Where do they never wear shoes?
In their house.
That's the relationship of wearing and house. In is the preposition. And what's the object? Ball got it. What's the object?
Shoes.
No, the object of in. Houses. Houses. And what goes under houses? There. Possessive pronoun. This is actually quite fun. It is. It's very analytical. You can follow so far? Subject, verb, object of the verb. Prepositional phrase, object of the preposition, modifiers on an angle. Now the subordinate clause, because, that goes on the dotted line. If it's a subordinate clause, you slant the line. If it's a coordinate, it goes up and down. Okay, what's the subject of the subordinate clause?
Floors.
Good. Floors. And what modifies floors? What word modifies floors?
Covered.
No?
There.
There. Possessive pronoun. Okay, what's the verb?
Are covered.
Are covered. Yes. This is passive voice. Are covered. Action falls back on the subject. Are covered. Now, we have a prepositional phrase. What's the preposition? With. Everybody's doing really well. We had one lesson yesterday. Anita? We had one lesson yesterday. This is a big sentence, a complex sentence. Okay, modifiers, everybody? What words modify? What's the object of which?
Straw color.
No, what's the object?
Object. Pen.
Matting. Matting is the object. And what are the modifiers for matting?
Perishable, soft, straw colors.
Okay, perishable is the first one.
Soft.
Next modifier?
Soft.
Soft. Next?
Straw color.
Straw colored. Next? Did I get perishable, soft? Maybe they broke straw colored into two parts here. Oh, A. A was it. That was the first one. A. That's it. A, perishable, soft, straw colored. Okay. How about called to Tommy? Called is your participle. It goes here. Called, this is participle, past tense, and it's called to Tommy. Ta-ta-me. Srinanta, what do you think?
Perfect.
They were telling me, right? They told me. This is a big mistake. And you'll see that in that little grammar book. Many times people will use a participial phrase, but it's modifying the wrong word. Listen, here's the example. Running down the street, the hat blew off his head. Running down the street, the hat blew off the man's head. What's running down the street? The man. But it sounds as though the hat's running down the street. Okay? That's called a dangling participle. Its placement creates confusion. Happens often. You have to, that's what happens in editing. You have to be really careful, or checking people's homework, that they say what they really mean. Because grammar, that's why grammar is important. You think you're saying something, but you're saying something else. Running down the street, the hat blew off the man's head. The hat is not running down the street.
It
Right?
is called ambiguity. Ambiguity.
It's a form of ambiguity, but it's clear. The way it's stated, it's impossible. They give another one, something like answering the telephone, the cat swallowed the canary, or something like that. The cat was not answering the telephone, you know, somebody else was, and while he was... But those are called dangling participles. You have to watch them, because if they're misplaced, they allude to the wrong word, and then the whole thing sounds absurd. But in ED form, other examples would be swimming in the Jamuna. My friend caught a cold. My friend, okay, swimming in the Jamuna, my friend. It refers to my friend caught a cold. But if you say swimming in the Jamuna is a nice pastime, then it's a gerund. It's a subject. So if it modifies, it's a participle. If it's the subject or a noun or an object, if it acts as a noun, it could be subject or object, it's a gerund. If you use to with a verb like to be, to run, to play, if you say to chant is our business. To chant becomes the subject of the sentence. And you use it like this. To chant. I would write it to on the slanted line. To chant. Or you say to be or not to be, you put to here, and you put your verb here. This can be used as a noun, or it can be used as a modifier. We like to chant. What do we like? We like what? To chant. It's an object. So to chant becomes a noun. It's a verbal. It's a verbal. It means this verb is used as a noun. So you'll see there are three verbals. Infinitives. Say that. Infinitives. Gerunds. And participles. That's the only hard thing. Everything else is pretty easy. And look at after one day what you can diagram. You can do this, and you do this in color. You take sentences, slokas from the Krishna book. Every day my kids would do one shloka, diagram in color. They knew grammar at a glance. How much more do you need to do than this? Do you really need to do more than this? Do you need to do much more than this? After this point, you go through this book, you do these exercises. She even gives you some blanks. You make up a sentence to fill the blank. You just create a diagram, then come up with something that fits it. Very easy. We touched on all the parts. There's nothing that we didn't do. And if it's a compound sentence, the line just goes straight, that's all. And you put an and there. But if it's like this, I think there's also things like clauses, noun clauses. Those have to be shown, where they would be up here. You build a stilt in the subject area, or if it's a noun, if it's an embedded clause, if it modifies. There are a few other little things, but it's all in the book. I mean, I can't think of a better way to learn grammar, I'll tell you. So easy. This is from Irmala's school. She sent me this years ago. She knows resources like anything. If you have a question, ask her, like, what should I teach my child? Where do I get this or that? She's really got her hand on the pulse. You like this system? I tell you, it's fantastic. You teach your kids this in grammar, they'll always remember it, and I don't think, I mean, anything else that's new that they have to add, it will be something that they can just put on a very sound structure. I want to give a tip too for creative writing. This is also coming from that grammar book. I took it from the model. They never said do this for writing, but it's what I did and it works. If you have a piece of paper, anybody have a loose piece of paper with lines on it? Or you can give me a loose piece of paper with lines on In that grammar book, they give in the back 6 genres for writing: narrative, instructions. This is what I did with the children, and it really works. And Pathways adopted it, and Mrs. Narang said it was brilliant. You take a piece of paper. Usually paper has margins, right? On the left and right. And you use the margins, or if it doesn't have margins, you fold the paper and you make margins. Okay. Let us say you have assigned a creative writing assignment. And you have decided that you want to have a particular genre and you want to teach certain literary features. The story goes here. The creative piece goes in the middle. On the left, and you look again in your grammar book, you'll see that's how they analyze something, and I just turned it around and that's how I taught it. On the left, you have the structural features. Structural features. What does a narrative have to have? On the right column, what literary features do I want to have? What do I want them to achieve? What objectives do I want? Literary features. They are instructed to write a story. Let's just say the instruction is an informative narrative. In other words, they make up a story, but it has information on it. Okay, maybe it's about rabbits, but it's really how to plant a garden. In the spring we put seeds in, and then we water them, and then they grow, and then we harvest them at this time. The whole thing is stories, but it teaches something instructive. So let us say that the narrative has to have a setting, it has to have characters. In other words, what does a story have to have? So you'll see, a story has to have certain features. It has to have a plot or a conflict, and it has to have a resolution. All right? And because it's informative, you may also want to include, it has to have points of information. What information does it have to have if you're teaching something? So instead of a plot, you will also include in the plot, what informative points do I have to teach? All right? Now, let's say that I want the children to learn literary features, embellishments, not just a dry story. So perhaps I want them to be sure that they include alliteration. I think that's the one now. Sorry. And I want them to have a simile. And someplace I want them to use dialogue. Right? I don't care where it is, but this is the objective. Somewhere in your story, you have to use alliteration, you have to use a simile, you have to include dialogue, and I think we also will add, how about some onomatopoeia? P-O-E-I-A. I'm not sure on that one. I have to check. All right? So this time, what happens in most cases, if a child is given an assignment, the poor teacher has to suffer looking for the objective. I have to go through the whole thing, and it takes time. Like, I still haven't finished going through your little things from 2 days ago. It takes forever to go through papers. But if the child has been given this instruction, all right, you have to have setting, characters, plot, so many points of information that you're teaching, a resolution, and your literary features you have to show me on the right, alliteration, a simile, some dialogue, and onomatopoeia. So the child writes the story. Wherever the setting is, they have to write setting in the margin, and they draw a line over, and they indicate where it is. They show you that they did it. You don't have to find it and say, where is the setting? Oh, I forgot to tell where this was. It was supposed to be in Vrindavan. Right? Or I left out 2 characters. Right? In other words, wherever they put it in, on the left, they write that in the margin, and with a line, and they can use a lighter color of magic marker. It goes into the text, and the student shows you, I have met the objective. This is very powerful. Mrs. Narang told me when they started doing this in their whole school, she said it was the best idea they ever had for creative writing. She says our whole school does this now. And actually I never saw this applied to teaching. I just saw it in the book, and that was how they showed you how to analyze a piece. Remember the point I first made? Books will give you ideas on how to teach. Some method they've used to demonstrate, turn around and use it to teach. And simile, if I've got a simile here, right? His smile was like a rainbow, or his smile was like an upcurved moon. And then he would have to show simile and go to that point. Dialogue, quotation marks. Look out, the rabbit said, here comes the farmer.
Very good for drama.
Perfect. Onomatopoeia. Chomp, chomp, chomp. The carrot was really good after he grabbed it. Right? Let it go. So this 3-column idea, every time they write. Your objectives, you state them. What are your structural objectives? And that will be in terms of the genre. What are your literary features in terms of style? One is called substance, and the other is called style. And whatever you do in writing, you need both substance and style. Okay? You like that one? Yeah, and you look at, you'll see in the back of that grammar book, you'll see they have how to do a narrative, how to do an instruction, how to do an opinion paper, like that. Okay? And was there one more thing on the wheel that we had to do before the cake?
Yeah, 29 rules.
Oh, God. Okay, 29 rules. You have your Spalding book, your speller? Who's got the speller free? I've got all my books, but you have yours. There's nothing, here's your paper. All right. This is the speller?
This one is the writing book.
No, we need the speller here. All right. The rules are self-explanatory. Nobody ever told. Okay, you go through the book, and you go systematically. Our first one was Rule 4. The next rule is Rule 17, right? The word is will. So the first you teach it, the first phonogram is w, it, oo. You say it both, right? W, oo. Let's see if I have my glasses here so I can. Then the instructional tip is right there. All you have to do is read it. I don't know how much easier it can be. Will. Rule number 17. After children say the sounds for will, say write another L because the L is often doubled, following a single vowel at the end of a one-syllable word. For spelling, say both L's. So and I think this applies to L, F, and S.
Yeah, L, F, and S.
Those 3 letters. SS, FF, LL. After the children say after we write another L because we often double a single vowel at the end of a one-syllable word. So you have the word off, or miss, M-I-S-S.
Or different, discuss.
You'll hear, two, this is the end though. This just applies to the end. So this, if they write the word, they would Rule 17. And then you just go back and check the rule. That's it. I don't know what else to say, it's there. Then you have Rule 4. And then you have Rule 5 and 6, the word my. So we say Everybody say Yeah, I. And under I. And this is Rule 5 and 6. 2 rules here, 5 and 6. In my, the Y may say I. The letter Y, not I, is used at the end of an English word.
The difference is pronunciation, 5 is pronunciation.
Both of, yeah. 5 is pronunciation, and this is the rule that we use Y at the end of an English word.
Yeah, writing always.
Right, so it's there. You just check the rule list.
The rules, some are missing in our book. It's not Xerox properly.
Oh, some are missing. Oh, well, that's another problem. It didn't come through. Okay, well, that's another problem. So then we,
Pink book, it's all there.
Pink little book, all 29 books.
on the paper, in a code book.
In a code, not in the
Right. And, I mean, I guess we can try to get those photocopied and sent on. So we've covered everything? Except math, but that'll be another time. It's getting late, and everybody wants a cake. Yeah.
Just one class.
Okay.
There is a word called baby. Now here it says rule 4, 5 and 6.
Uh-huh.
So how does that apply to
Very?
baby?
Baby?
B-A-B-Y.
Oh, okay. She asked a question, baby. All right. The word is baby. Rule 4 applies to the A, and rule 5 and 6 applies to the Y.
Why?
Rule 4 applies to the A.
But here it says that the pronoun I is always capitalized for rule 5. In this book,
What, I don't follow.
in which here,
Baby is the word?
but
Yeah.
for rule 5,
Yeah.
in the same book, it says the pronoun I is always capitalized.
Uh-huh.
So how does that apply here, rule 5?
I don't see how it does.
Yeah, it doesn't because
Which page are you?
page 265, the white book,
265, and it says the pronoun I?
I is always capitalized. Explain that early printers thought the lowercase I looked insignificant as a word.
I don't know why it would be offered here. I do know that's a rule, though, that you always capitalize I.
So I don't know how it is applicable here.
I'm not too sure unless they're just trying to tell you that if there's an I, but there's no I in the word,
Here
right?
it says the accent for spelling say baby, the accent is on the first syllable.
Right, baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
I understand rule 4 and 6, but by 5 here I was confused. That's
Maybe
why-
they just decided to throw that in a point. I do remember that they say that I, at one time for printing's sake, was made capital just because it stood out.
Yeah.
Some people don't like to do that. They write I with a lowercase to sound it's like less egocentric.
So that can be,
I'm not too sure. I don't remember that instance, to be honest with you.
Here, you just take a look. I think it's good spelling baby.
For spelling, say baby.
That's why the 5.
The accent is on the first syllable, yeah. Actually, sometimes she uses the sound baby.
Because the Y is being
I don't see it here.
with the letter I and Y usually say I.
I know sometimes she pronounces Y like an I instead of an I. That's southern pronunciation. In the south they say baby. And why she does that, I don't know. In the north they say baby. But in the south they'll say baby. And why she's using southern, because in America they use the northern pronunciation as the standard. Why she's using southern, I don't know.
It's like French. It is pronounced as
She'll
A.
say like valley. She won't say valley, she'll say valley. Now that's a southern pronunciation. Deep south.
It is pronounced as A.
I don't know why. I've never understood that. But basically, in America, the pronunciation follows what's used in the north rather than in the south. The south is considered a dialect version. But she's following that. Yeah.
We don't need the entire photocopy. If you just give us, write down that one which is missing.
Okay.
6 and the first half the book.
At home, yeah.
One of us can write them, we have a copy.
Yeah. Okay. Have we answered most of the questions? Last chance. Last chance. Any more? Everybody's tired, but this is critical because when you go home, you might as well get it now, right? All right, everybody should pack everything up. The kids have been really good because they didn't have any special attention today. And you can now get really going on your artwork. That's a brilliant thing. I'm not exaggerating. That's beautiful. Picasso would have done a bowl like that. So would have Matisse. You look at the famous artists. Picasso said, it took me 90 years to learn how to draw like a child. Okay, we've got 5 minutes to pack. Go. And Ron Clark was always defending, showing respect to the students and giving them a break and being on their side. And the principal was, he and the principal were always, but the principal down deep inside, I think, really trusted him. So at one point, the principal says to Ron Clark, I'll respect you when you stop acting like a kid. Right? He said, I will respect you, Mr. Clark, when you stop acting like a kid. So the next scene, you see him with the party hat, tipped to the side, and all the children with party hats tipped to the side. And it was a very powerful moment. It was the turning point in the class, because at that point, the children decided to have faith that they could determine their destiny. That they could, if they desired, they could be successful. Because up to that point, they didn't believe in themselves. So here he was trying to get them to be visionaries and look to a future in which they could strive for the impossible, which they achieved, actually. They were the worst district in their school, and they came out as the best on the test. Now that's pretty amazing. And they even topped the honors class. So, so that's why I like the Ron Clark movie. Not only was he compassionate, I felt just like Srila Prabhupada. He'd go into the homes, he'd cook for them, he'd go to the hospital with them, he'd use his own money to take them to the Broadway shows. He just, nothing was too much. So at that point, the turning point. So we decided to have a ceremonial turning point here. That all of you now are going to go back and you're going to be equipped to do what in many cases might seem impossible. And along the way, you may even wonder, you're going to get tested. There will be times that will be difficult. But if you're determined, it'll be a test of determination, because basically the resources are out there. You all show native intelligence. There are a lot of people willing to help you. I think it's a matter of your own determination, really. And that was what I appreciated about that Ron Clark movie. He was so determined. And then at this point, the children became determined. So we hope at this point you children now will become determined to be equippers yourself. Right? That you're going to learn from your mothers, and you're going to cooperate, and you're going to excel not only in your academics, but you're going to excel in Vaishnava qualities, because that's what will matter at death. What kind of a Vaishnava are you? Right? Character. Without character, all other assets are just, like they say, jewels on the hood of a cobra. So unless you have Vaishnava qualities, there's really no point to anything else. So we are going to have the initial candle on the cake, and I want you to think now, before I strike the match, if you had a wish, and you're in Vrindavan now, of what kind of a devotee you want to be when you're finished with your schooling. Okay, when you're finished with your schooling. And we mean probably about to college level. Right? Not just today, not tomorrow. But when actually you're finished and you have to perhaps go on from your home, go off to a school, or perhaps go off to your own work, or maybe you'll set up your own family life. We want you to determine what kind of a devotee we want you to be. If someone were to describe you, what would you like them to say about you? So think about that, and this is your opportunity now. You're in Vrindavan. But you're going to pray by the mercy of Vrindavan Dham, by the mercy of the spiritual master, to help you fulfill that kind of a desire. All of you. And you as parents, what kind of a parent would you like at the end of this time when your child is grown up? What kind of a parent would you want to be? What kind of a teacher? Where somebody would say, that person. Look at people like Aruda. And look at people like Urmila. So you think, can I do something like that? Maybe. Okay, so we're going to light the first candle. And as you remember how Ron Clark did it now, I think what we need to do is, let's first, would you give all of the children a candle first? And think about it now. Really think about it. Don't just take a candle. You think about it. You wait. She's going to distribute the candles. Go quickly. What is it that you want to be when you're finished with your education at home? Before you face life? What is it that you want to know? What is it you want to be able to do? And what kind of a person do you want to be? Think about it. And when you light that candle, when you come up and you put it on this cake, that will be a statement of your wish. Are there enough? Okay, now you should give it to, especially first, the parents coming from Bombay, because they're the ones who really make the big sacrifice to come here. Okay? And then if we have enough, I didn't know, I mean, we sent 3 boxes, but I have to go first order because I don't know if we have enough candles for everybody. And we're going to have to be very, very careful because it's a bit crowded in here. And when you come forward, and this cake, by the way, was made specially this morning by Mother Danishta at the temple. She's an amazing Russian baker. She professionally studied baking before she became a devotee. She once made a cake about as big as this room for her Guru Maharaj, and she decorated it with flowers and roses. She's a professional cake baker. And this cake is a combination of a cheesecake, carob, strawberry filling, and everything in the books. So it's a super cake. And she brought it over personally herself this morning. So she made this especially for this group as a nice memory for this occasion. Okay, is everybody equipped now with your wish candle? Now think about it. This is not a joke. This is actually, you saw in the movie, it was a turning point. Because some of you still aren't sure. And some of the children have to take this very seriously. It's not a one-sided thing. They have to be determined that when I grow up, this is the kind of a devotee I want to be. Did you get your candle, Srinata?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
There's an extra? There's an extra?
Any additional candles?
Is there an extra?
Yes, yes.
Begin.
We want to be sure everybody's equipped to start, because this is the turning point. We are now done. This is the end, but it's actually what? The beginning. Just like initiation, right? You think it's the end, but no, it's the beginning. Okay, everybody's equipped? Wait till you see this. Wow. You have to be very quiet now. As you recall, Ron Clark lighted the first candle. So we'll light the first one, we'll put it here, and we'll call people up one at a time. Who's ever very quiet? We'll call in the order of how well behaved you are. So let's see, well, we'll start here. You just put it in, move quickly because I didn't, and then you just put it in.
Make a wish.
Push it down far. Push it really far. Okay, quickly. And up. Do you have your wish for now? Okay. Next. Andy? We'll just move systematically. Go Rasarita next.
Everybody's back. Yeah.
Okay, next. Can we turn one of the lights off so it's a little bit more,
Lights on.
yeah, just one of them at least, yeah, so it's not there, that's nice. We have to get the Hollywood effect.
Actually, we should burn the cake out, no? Cut off.
Okay.
One side should be cut.
Yeah, I'll check.
One side should be cut.
Everybody's making a wish?
Okay, when people come forward with your candles, we'll just have you come quickly now.
You need to light first. You need to light first.
I will be the last one.
So you don't get too close to the box, okay?
Be careful.
Push it down straight and deep, okay? Nice and deep. Push it down deep. Otherwise it'll fall over. Push it really far. That's it. Okay? I think maybe we'll push it over there a little bit, yeah. We wanted the box to catch fire.
Six.
Okay, any more candles coming here?
Yeah, Raghav.
Okay. Okay, when they're all lighted, we'll turn off the lights completely.
Raghav, make a wish.
And we'll chant Hare Krishna.
You made a wish, Raghav.
Don't get it too close to the box. I would stick more towards the inside. I don't want anything to sag here.
Put it down. Yeah.
Okay, quickly. Everybody got them all? All the candles? Maybe get some over there. And don't burn yourself. Not too close to the front. Okay, everybody doing his wish? Okay, Shri Ananta, we'll have the lights go off in just a little bit, okay? We'll give you the sign. More towards the inside a little bit. I'm worried about the box.
You'll have to change one side of the box.
Everybody made a wish? Yes. Everybody done? Yes. Okay, let's all sing. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
I remove this? Remove all the candles?
Can I remove one? Put them in a little cup for me?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, let Mataji take them off.
Wait, I'll do it.
No, I'll remove my own candles. Yeah, we'll pass out the cakes, don't worry. Everybody's house gonna be controlled.
Mataji, you be the first one to cut.
Okay.
You be the first one to cut one. Haribol.
You'll have to go back, let her do that. Go back to your seat if you want cake. How many people do we have? How many is it? What's the number?
22. Go behind. Nitya and behind.
Go back to your seat.
I can push it little bit there. So we can. Mataji, before we cut.
And we're gonna go like this. I think those are good sized pieces, right? We're trying to get a square piece out of each one. So we go like this, and we go like that. It's here. Hi Krishna, everybody. Everybody quiet.
Hey, boss.
This is an awesome cake.
Hi Krishna. I'd like to thank Her Grace Yashoda Mataji for these wonderful gems of knowledge or jewels of knowledge that she has very generously shared with us. There are not many people who have so much knowledge as much as she does, and if they do, then they don't like to be as generous about giving it. So, along with all the techniques, we were all needy. Most of you maybe were not aware of Mataji. So, when I heard that Radharani Mataji wanted to ask whether she should come or not, whereas we at Gurukul, as soon as we heard that Mataji is doing something, and we just heard it in our ear, we said, forget about everything, just go for it. So, this is how our different levels have been. You all are involved with a very challenging task, and I think you're very well equipped now, especially you've been trained not only technically by Mataji, but also, all her chanting. She's a great devotee, and with her blessings, I'm sure you'll all be very successful. My own nieces in America, they are doing homeschooling because they live in Houston. I have an American sister-in-law, and my brother-in-law, he's a doctor. Now, I'm just trying to enthuse you that though homeschooling is a very daunting task that you have taken, and success rate sometimes is not very high. That's the reality. But all is not lost, because my niece has been admitted into some very top schools in Boston, and she hopes to graduate and go on and join Harvard University. So that's a success thing, that I'm seeing all these kids. I personally feel they're all special, and all you mothers and all you parents are also very special. So I'd like to thank Yashoda Mataji. Thank you very much, Mataji.
Oh, thank you for coming. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be here, right? We exist for the students. Actually, this was a good learning opportunity for all of us, and my hope is that somehow or other we have equipped you by Krishna's grace, by Prabhupada's mercy. And we have to thank Sri Ananta for orchestrating the whole thing.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so let us keep singing Hare Krishna while we pass out the cake.
We are not yet done. We've not yet done, Mataji. There's one more, something else coming.
What else? Is something coming else? Okay. Alright, so as fast as we can here. I think the cake looks beautiful. What do you think?
It looks yummy.
Is it a beautiful cake?
It looks delicious.
What do you think?
Delicious.
Whoa. And Dhanishta is the best baker at the temple. She's the best. And I tell you, this is like her super cake. This is everything. It's a cheesecake plus carob plus jam plus
Our mouth is too lucky today.
I know, yeah.
So Mataji, from behalf of all the devotees who are in Bombay, Radharani Mataji would like to speak something.
Okay, go ahead, Radharani. Thank you.
I just want to say something, that what Anita Mataji said, I was just thinking the same thing, that many times those who are expert cooks, when we ask them for a recipe, they may give the entire recipe, they leave out one main ingredient. So the recipe never turns out the same when we cook it. But Mataji is an expert cook, and she has given us the exact recipes. So now the onus is on us, how
I can do it.
we execute it. So I think the best gift we can give her is if we sincerely try to do what she has asked us to do. And another thing I really liked and appreciated is that Mataji has given us the ideal lesson plan so that we don't lose focus of the main objective. One objective we have is that we want to homeschool our children nicely, teach them the Spalding's method and so many other things that they need to know. But throughout all the lessons, she made it very clear that we should never lose focus of our main goal, and that is Krishna consciousness and serving Srila Prabhupada. Every class, she made us begin by Srimad Bhagavatam or shlokas so that we never lose focus of what is our actual goal in life. And we are very grateful. We hope that someday we can be as intense and as Krishna conscious as her and serve other devotees the way we see her doing. And that's what we have written in our small note for you, Mataji.
Thank you so much.
That we can never repay you for what you have given us, but we promise that we will share with others what you have shared with us.
Well, that will be, I'm sure, the fulfillment of Srila Prabhupada's desire, because we're all here by His mercy, right? And whatever we do, actually, remember that when Krishna says, I am the ability in man. So whatever we have as a gift is really Krishna's, and it should be used for His service. So we have, oh my goodness, we have a little present here. Well, how about, why don't you open it on my behalf? Let's find out what's in the box. You want to keep everybody with the cake. The cake. How's the cake? Is it good? Nice. Everybody agree the cake is good? It looks fantastic. The cake looks fantastic, doesn't it? I tell you, Dinesh started this cake at 5 o'clock this morning. Can you believe this cake was started at 5 a.m.?
Mataji, any guesses from afar?
What could it be?
I have no idea.
It spells A-C-E-R. Acer.
Well, it has her as in her, I know that.
Well, that's all I know. It's a laptop, Mataji.
What is it? It's a little laptop? Oh my God, it's a baby one, huh? Isn't that too cute?
Okay, this calls for 3 Haribol.
Oh, that is super. It's a little small laptop. That's a clever idea.
Again, I think taking the role of Julio from Ron Clark, I would like to say something for our clerk of this session.
I have to teach Srinath. He was so nervous through the whole thing. But if it weren't for Srinath,
This you can receive.
Look
Put
at
your
that.
knife down, please.
Well, but I can't put my fingers down. You just hold it on my behalf. Okay. Look at that. It's so adorable. It's really cute. It's so small.
Just 1 second.
You can the photograph. I better put down the knife. It's too intimidating.
Yeah, he's.
You normally carry it's packed away, I think. We have a bowl of water. We have a paper bowl here. Which reminds me of a cute story. We'll have to tell you that too.
No, wait, I don't know why.
You don't know how to use the camera.
It was working.
It was working. Anyway, I can't thank you.
We have a video.
We can. That's a really special gift. I mean, really. A little computer like that? Okay, I have to hold the computer. That's so sweet of you. Thank you. I mean, that's really, really.
So first we would like to thank Srila Prabhupada.
Srila Prabhupada, yeah, we're here. And I shouldn't
inspiring
even
us.
have my back to this picture.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, here we go.
He's blessing all of us.
He is.
And the whole intention about this whole program was that students get equipped not as experts Spalding or grammar experts, but they become more good devotees and start reading Prabhupada books.
That was the idea.
That was the whole idea. And one thing which I keep on continuously meditating on my own is about integrity. And that's the prime thing, if I have to say one word about Mataji, then I would say it's integrity. Because she cannot accept anything less which will not satisfy Srila Prabhupada. So it's up to us, because maybe as she has pointed out in this 20 days, that all of us have a disease of chalta hai. That it's okay. It's okay, my child is this, I'm like this, you are like this, and we'll stay together. But when it comes to standards, we need some kind of teachers in our life at some point of time, where they can take that bold step and be assertive. Because we haven't seen assertive teachers who are soft enough, or those who teach different things. Either we have been thrashed by them continuously, so we don't want to be with anybody like them. So in spite of all these things, we got a good example of what exactly Seven Laws or Bhurijan Prabhu or all of these expert teachers have been propagating in this particular area, and then how we have adapted all these teachings to English, to mathematics, to arts, and to rest of the subjects. So now the whole question would be how we implement these principles in our life. It will not be restricted to only English or maths or arts or certain other things. So we all have different roles in our life, in the society and different places. So I'm sure that
This is a really funny picture. This isn't the usual movie picture.
So I'm sure all of you would have loved this particular session, and I think one of the important persons in this room is Bhakti. So we all because she has been tolerating all of us. Because for her, English spalding has no pleasure at this particular age. But she tolerated us, she tolerated our discipline, and so all the children also have started accepting and started imbibing these things. So we hope in future when you come to Vrindavan anytime, you will walk in to Mataji's room and demonstrate what you have learned. Keep on reporting her or calling her about certain things.
That'll be fantastic.
We also thank the authorities of this hospice project, specifically Vishwarup Prabhu and Dr. Avnish Prabhu, for allowing us to use this particular facility without any particular criteria or as such. We would like to thank each one of you who participated without, because many times I had goofed up so many things, and so you have been accepting me like whatever I am, and the Gurukul teachers who, because it was like actually I had spent sleepless nights when it came to arranging the benches because I had no idea where to buy them from or something like that. Initially I had thought there will be only 5 Matajis and 10 children, but as you see now we are almost 30 of us. So I don't know how it was arranged and all these things. So we thank all the teachers from the Gurukul for coming and joining this class and facilitating this as per the expectation of the teacher.
That's wonderful. I could see Prabhupada was blessing this at every step of the way.
And I think what we can learn from this is set high standards, somehow we'll be able to
Yes,
meet.
exactly.
Well, high, that's what Wilkinson says, high standards.
Ron Clark said, keep it here, not
Yeah, keep it high. He always aimed high. They all do.
So Mataji was insistent and somehow one could deliver.
Yeah, they'll really keep it high.
So I'm
just
still
hoping
not
we wish
satisfied.
we all wish you the best of luck, and the door is open, please do come back and visit. And I know all my former students come back and see me. Krishna Priya, my first little 3-year-old, is now 11 in the top school, girls' school in England, and you know, she's doing really well. She's a very balanced young girl. You know, it doesn't mean that the excelling means, just like Ron Clark said to the girl that wanted to be a doctor. He says you can be cool and be a doctor too, right? So it doesn't mean you have to be in balance to be good. But basically you want to be materially equipped, but mostly you want to be, my prayer for all of you when I put my candle on, it was for every one of you in this room, that in this lifetime you will attain your spiritual perfection. Don't try to drag it on. Try to make it this lifetime. And for these children too, that they attain spiritual perfection. That is the goal of this birth, this human birth. So, otherwise it'll need another body, and who knows where it will be, who knows how you can get diverted. It can happen very easily, and don't think it doesn't. There are many cases of good parents and the children did not take to Krishna consciousness. So my prayer is that you all take to Krishna consciousness fully, happily, enthusiastically. It's joyful, it's eternal, and perfect your life this lifetime. What more could we ask? And if Spalding helps you, my idea was that Spalding will help you readily, quickly, directly, and effectively access the philosophy. It'll help you with this, right? Okay,
So we pray at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada that Mataji can have nice health and keep on inspiring the next generations to come. Specifically, she never wanted to now engage in directly training the children, but she wanted to train next generation of teachers and parents. So I hope we will come up to her expectations of continuing this legacy of whatever she had learned in last 40 years and experience from various experts in those respective fields, and continue the whole legacy. So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
I did want to pass on too that the 2 ladies that have been coming, one of them came to me this morning. This is so heartening. And she said, could you possibly photocopy the Bhakti Shastri study guide in Hindi? And she said, we need 10 copies. She said 10 ladies want to start the program.
Fantastic.
Now this means these ladies are so inspired by applying these methods. They're out there, people are starved to learn the philosophy, but they just don't feel anyone's there to direct them. And she said, do you think Shankar would photocopy 10 in Hindi? So I said, absolutely. So this is the type of thing we really want to spread. We really want to spread the study methods in terms of Shastra. And as Spalding said, literacy for all, we want to say Shastra for all. Not just a few. Without the Shastra, you won't know what to do. Okay? Yeah, for the hospice people. And I want a piece for
2 of them.
For Damodar Pandit. I saw it this morning. Could you save a piece for Damodar Pandit?
Maybe this section. And 2 Matajis, they said you can get it there. Who came for your classes?
Param Karuna.
Say for them?
Yeah.
And how many people are there here in the hospice? If not, if we don't have enough, I'll order more cake.
No, as of now there are only 3 of them.
Only 3 people are here? Would you Damodar be willing to
Yes,
go?
Damodar will manage the whole.
You deliver?
Yeah, he will deliver.
So we have 2 pieces for the ladies, one for Damodar,
Yes.
Damodar Pandit. Anybody else?
Date Lokeshwar Prabhu about tomorrow's and day after tomorrow's schedule, because some of their reservations is like bookings are not clear, but still Narayani Mataji had promised to have a session with us tomorrow afternoon. So
It is going to be here, right?
here.
At what time?
2 to 4 o'clock, that's what she had mentioned. So tomorrow morning we'll update everybody.
Are we continuing tomorrow morning also?
Yes, and I wanted to know your schedule also.
So because we had said 10 till 2, I mean 10 till 12.
10 to 12 would be Mataji's session, and from 2 to...
topic?
topic would be certain things
Then we
which
just
can
wanted
be
to cover
We
all
are-
questions.
We are taking all our luggage right now,
Okay.
presuming that we may have to go.
Yes.
So if there is something specific that's going to be done, we'll have to bring those books back. Until now, we were keeping everything here. So if you know what
So you can take the whole thing, keep it with you.
Yeah, just
And
take
you
it.
can just come here
Whatever
with some small notebook.
Whatever is required.
So we
Student
won't
would be
need
a-
any of those books.
Student would be a concession. I'm just
I
telling
know,
on
just be
behalf of
prepared,
others.
because otherwise we'll just cover last minute things.
Morning, we will anyway come.
Yeah,
Tomorrow morning, we are definitely coming. But we just need to pack up.
definitely.
Today we'll pack. Morning session, we'll definitely.
And I think basically we answered most everybody's questions.
Yeah.
I think if we meet tomorrow, we could possibly just do some math.
Maths.
All right? That you don't need.
So we will go bring those math sheets.
Math
Yeah.
sheets you can bring.
Bring the math sheets. We'll do the math.
They are
That'll be
with
wonderful.
Lokesh Rao.
Yeah, no, we have them.
Yeah, 10 till 2, that's wonderful. And that's
Exactly.
so
Give them
wonderful.
This tip which you gave,
Manji,
Sil and Madhuri, the one
These two
with
Prabhujis are going to be
Creative.
creative writing.
In the Mother Goodness, you have to have prasadam and kirtan. So we always have prasadam, and the boys always start with kirtan. That's very good.
Come on, sing, come on.
Okay, so, very good.
मैं वो नित्यानंद के पास हूँ, बेटी।